become champions. Oh, 67. And then he's a Westman. The first game in the thousands. The Steelers would become champions. Celtic way, wave with a ball from side to side, and until they try to hide, the wave with a ball from front to back, attack, 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 67, and then he's a Westman, the first game in the round.
Good evening everybody and welcome to Celtic Rumours TV, episode number 195 of the Bawz and Bovril podcast with myself, Mark. Tonight we've got Terence with us. Evening, Terence. How you doing?
Evening, Mark. Good, bud, and yourself?
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. We've got Paul back with us tonight as well. Good to have you back, Paul. How you doing, bud?
Cheers, all good, thanks, cheers.
Well, this is a podcast for our forum. You can find that at www.celticrumours.co.uk. The link to that and everything else for Discord group and stuff like that's in the description box below. A few shout-outs to some of the lads off the forum first. Jerry McGinley, Old Tim Alloy, JFP, Mikey, Reunited Ireland, John, Big Jabber, Kev, Welshie, Malika. We've messaged as well for TB on the Discord. TB's not keeping too well the news. All the best, TB. Hope you get better soon. Who have we got in? Bobby was in there first as usual. Evening, Bobby. Grot Bags. Brian, nice to see you, Brian, buddy. Patrick, nice to see you, Patrick McLaughlin. Evening, G-Doc. Liam, nice to see you as well, mate. Evening. Chill, Paul, thanks for coming in again, mate. David Gallagher, thanks very much for joining us late, mate. Avenue there, Avenue, and Evening, Avenue. We've got quite a bit to catch up on. We've not been on for a few weeks. We've just really, guys, just with the rest of the guys working. Big Jerry's getting uni stuff and that today. We've just not been able to align the stars at times today, to get pods going. But Jerry says he'll be available on Sunday, and we've got us three tonight. So hopefully we'll get back into a wee bit more of a system the next week or two. We've got quite a lot to cover considering for the last time. So who do you want to go away first? When was the last time we came to be willing? Was it after the Dortmund game, wasn't it?
Yeah, was after the Dortmund game, yeah.
We might as well start then. We'll go with it. We'll start talking with the turnaround with the performance in the Atlanta game.
Go on, Paul.
Oh, me? Jesus Christ, man, I could barely remember this morning. Jesus Christ. I suppose, look, we did what we had to do back then. We got the point. I thought it was a massive point away from home. You know, I see a lot of people criticise Adamida around the place but he was there to do that job, Mark, that we were saying against Brucey Diamond. Just get the ball up to him, let him hold it up. You know, that's basically what he was doing. You know, thought Kasper Schmeichel had another good solid game for us, pulled off some good saves. I'm happy with that point. It's a very good point.
What about you, Terence?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with what Paul's after saying there as well. I mean, I kind of find it funny, Mark, when people get critical of Celtic. Celtic done what we were all hoping that they'd do, was go to Europe away against an excellent side, a top side, and be sensible and be pragmatic. They knew they weren't going to have much of the ball, and they defended for their lives, and they set back. And they done what most teams in the SPL try to do to Celtic week in, week out, which is basically Celtic had to basically set up a formation where they defended from the front, and the centre backs of the Storm or the keeper played really well, yeah, they rode their luck, but you always have to ride your luck. I mean, this is a team that won a European Cup, they won the Europa League last year. So, the funny thing about it was, a couple of weeks before this, Arsenal drew over there 0-0, and it was a great result. Celtic draw 0-0 over there, and it was parking the bus. But I mean, Arsenal have millions upon millions. Premier League's the best league in the world, so they say. They go to Atalanta, get a draw, and that's a great result for Arsenal. Celtic go do the exact same thing, get a result, 0-0 draw, and everyone's like, oh, they were blessed, they parked the bus, blah, blah. What did they think Celtic were going to do? We all said if Celtic go toe-to-toe with these top sides, it's going to be another Borussia Dortmund scoreline. They didn't. They went, and credit to the manager and the players as a whole, they set out their stall. They didn't, if you look at the percentage of ball, Mark, it was something like 70% to 30%. So what? Celtic defended. Atlanta didn't convert the chances they had. So be it, Celtic got a point, and a fantastic point. I said before the game to you, Mark, the Dortmund game, I know we were a bit more confident back then, but if Celtic got 1 point out of those two games, I'd have been thrilled. They're both, Celtic's record in Europe is poor. Celtic's record in away in Europe is abysmal.
I mean, I was dreading it to Terence, that before the game. I said before the game, see, if I would have took getting beat 3-1 before that game against Atlanta.
Oh, 100%, Mark. Most people would have. The most optimistic Celtic fan could not have foreseen a draw in that game, considering the Dortmund game, and probably considering the way they conceded the 2 goals against Aberdeen in the second half of the league match the few days before. It didn't all go well, because you were thinking, oh God, this is a side at home, a good footballing side. We could be in trouble again. And the last thing you wanted was, okay, whatever about Celtic losing, you just didn't want another hiding, because it would come back. Yeah, it would come back to the whole, oh, should Celtic really be in this, blah, 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 blah. You do get people that will say that. But thankfully, they dug in deep. They got a great point, and now they can build on it.
I mean, I've said it on the forum and that now, Paul, Terence, and obviously Paul is there as well, but I'm confident now that we'll get into that knockout round.
It's in their own hands now, Mark.
Aye, I mean, I'm just with the games that we've got in front of us. And I was
Leipzig next.
Aye, but I just even the last game doing at Aston Villa. I mean, Aston Villa,
they'll be qualified by then.
Aye, they'll have qualified by then, and I think they're away to Wolves. I think it's Wolves, and that's like their local derby, isn't it? They're away to Wolves after that. So, I mean, by the time that gets round, because I mean, let's face it, these top level clubs, they're not caring whether they finish in first place in this Champions League format or third or 10th. As long as they're in it, they're straight into the last round of 16. That's all they're caring about. No, I mean, they're not caring, no, we need to put a full strength team out because we need that $2.5 million you get for a win and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? They're not that kind of level. So I'm and again, the Dortmund performance, it was, we're not even going to try and dissect that again, but after you've seen the performance against Atlanta, if we're going to be performing like that against teams, I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't even mind that kind of setup against Leipzig at Celtic Park.
But I don't see a reason why not, Mark, because I was even saying it on the WhatsApp chat that we were chatting on with Jerry and the whole lot. I'd take a point against Leipzig at home.
Oh, aye.
Like Leipzig are a seriously good side as well. Mm-hmm. If Celtic can get a point at home to Leipzig, then you can look at getting the full points against your young boys and Bruges at home. Yeah, I know they're two decent sides, but they're sides if Celtic want to progress in this, that they need to say, okay, these are the home games. We need to try to get these two as 2 wins. And all of a sudden, if Celtic could get a point against Leipzig, and then it's young boys, and I know it's Bruges, and I know they're away to Dynamo Zagreb, I think, in between that, and then the last game is Villa. So if they can win the 2 home games and possibly get a draw against Leipzig, they're flying it. They're absolutely flying it. You know what I mean?
Aye, definitely. Aye. Evening, Ian McIntosh. Nice to see you in, mate. Thanks for coming in. And again, it's even the money side apart from it, stuff like that, but it's like trying to rebuild our reputation, isn't it? That's good. You've got to think and hope that that's what Rodgers is looking at as well. Rebuilding Celtic's reputation at that level, and maybe and even himself. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Paul,
can't be going into every time getting thumped. You just can't.
I've spoken about it before.
Stuff like that has to stop. And I think Rodgers, like you said there, Rodgers is looking after his own reputation as well. Like that, this kind of nonsense has to stop. He did it at Leicester when they were in the Conference League. He tweaked the way how they played towards Europe, and hopefully now he saw that with Atlanta that he can actually do that. Doesn't have to go toe to toe with teams.
I mean, I've said it 100 times, but we're not wanting me to rip up his plan and start from scratch and just, do you know what I mean? It's just tweak it a bit better. But Ian's saying there, we were far more compact than we were in Atlanta. Do you know what I mean? The midfielders were a lot closer to each other and stuff like that.
And you've just got to be more
spaces all over the place. So
you just got to be pragmatic, Mark.
Aye, you're not wanting me through his actual philosophy. You're just wanting me I get the players being so gung ho. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's it, Mark. If any Celtic fan, bar maybe the odd young fan, if any Celtic fan thinks that Celtic should go gung ho against these top sides, then they don't know much about it, because there's nothing wrong with setting up your system in accordance to what you're playing against. If Celtic are at home against young boys, you expect them to be attacking. If Celtic are away to Atlanta or Dortmund or Real Madrid or whoever the top sides are, you expect them to be exactly what Paul was saying there. You expect them to be sensible, to be tight. They know they're not going to have much ball, so they have to defend, and they have to defend in, if it's a line of 4 and a line of 5, then so be it, and frustrate the life out of the opposition. I'm quite comfortable as a Celtic fan. I'm sure. I know you are. I know Paul is. I know Jerry, Michael, all the rest of the lads would be on this JFP are quite happy for Celtic to do that when they go away from home, because the players are playing with. I've said this before. The players are playing with Celtic for a reason, and the players are playing with Dortmund for a reason, or Atlanta, or Real Madrid, or whoever it is. They're better players on those sides. Celtic going away and doing what they did in Atlanta, to me, was very, very professional. Very professional, and it was good to see from the manager as well.
Ian saying there, Atlanta boss Stephen said he's never seen Celtic set up like that, so it caught him out.
There you go.
Let's be honest, it caught us all out. Really, didn't it? There's no. That's what I said. I'm usually one of the more optimistic supporters. I always kind of look for the positives and stuff, inside stuff. But I was dreading that game against Atlanta. Like, I've never dreaded a game for years. I don't even dread the derby games anymore. Do you know what I mean? People still, like, wee Kev 83 gets pure wound up and he's running to the toilet every 5 minutes, think he's got to spew his ring and stuff like that after derbies. But that Atlanta game was giving me the fear. So it was just, I was delighted. For me, it was as good as a win. It felt as good as a win.
Okay.
The performance alone felt as good as a win for me there.
Mm-hmm. That point could be massive, Mark, to us. Like coming away with no points and coming away with a point could be massive at the end of the tournament.
Oh, definitely, Paul. Well, if you were saying it there, Paul, exactly that point. If we had said here, after 3 games, Celtic will have 4 points and 2 of those games away from home, you'd be going, I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that 100%. I'll take that, and we'll go to the next game. Against like one side that was in the European Cup final, and the other side that won the Europa League final. It wasn't exactly,
that beat a team that steamrolled right across German football all season. That was their first defeat all season, wasn't it? When Atlanta beat them in that final.
Yeah.
Leverkusen,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were going for a complete clean sweep, and I think a clean sweep of even undefeated or whatever, some crazy stat or something like that. I don't know, maybe it wasn't that, but they were certainly going for a clean sweep of trophies. So, I look, and I think that will have instilled a lot of confidence in the team, in the management, in the coaching staff.
What kind of what suited us in that as well was the way Atlanta played, getting to the byline and cross it in, and that kind of suited Skills and Trusty as well. You know, the two of them were, I thought Trusty and Skills were very good.
Aye.
You know, any ball that came into the area, they were there, do you know? And what's good as well is that we have a keeper as well now that comes out for crosses, you know? And that gives confidence as well, like that anything really that's going to come into the area, 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, Schmeichel will be there as well, like, you know.
Well, how many times last season and that did I talk about that kind of the goals that were leaking at us the back post?
Exactly, Mark. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think of it there.
I said it before. Taylor was taking a lot of the rap for them, right? But you've got to accept that it was coming in for the right hand side. So AJ was losing his man. Our 2 centre backs weren't getting near it. The goalkeeper was rooted to his line, but it was getting to the back
the
post.
6-yard box, Mark, really is your keeper's
exactly.
area.
Your keeper should be claiming that.
Yeah.
I kept saying it as well, Paul. The chances are, see if he comes out for the ball,
Clean
and
house.
doesn't get it. See if he gets
And
done
you know as
and
well,
just lets
Mark,
out a scream. We'll get a foul with
do you know
it,
what I know
probably.
about Schmeichel? And we didn't see it from Joe Hart last year. Joe Hart, and he's not criticising Joe Hart. He's been brilliant for us the last 2-3 seasons. He was with us, but you saw the experience in Schmeichel against Atlanta, how important the point was to Celtic. And at the end of the game, instead of playing this tippy-tappy football at the back, he was putting the long balls out into their half from goal kicks. You know, he was using his experience as a goalkeeper, and I think that's why Rodgers brought him in, Mark, to let Schmeichel do what he does. If he wants to play it out from the back, if he feels we're under pressure, then Schmeichel uses his experience in that game, and he gave the long balls. You know, Schmeichel's distribution is next to none. You know, it really, really is.
Schmeichel will at least get 1 assist for a goal this season.
Mm-hmm.
We just even a punt up the park for the likes of Maida running onto it and stuff like that. But I know what you're saying, Paul. Bringing that kind of experience, and it was like, I mean, under Ange, it was like you didn't clear the lines. Do you get what I mean? No matter what pressure you were under, the goalkeeper and
you
the
can't
defender
do that, Mark, in the Champions League or anything like that.
Always,
I mean,
there's always a
not
time
because
when you
we
need to
have.
just clear the decks, get the ball as far away from the goal as possible. And as you said earlier, Paul, there's no point in doing that. And it's up to Kyogo, and it's just getting took off him and straight back up to you. You need somebody up there, and especially away against these bigger teams and that. You need somebody up there that's going to hold the ball up. It might nothing might come it, but it's like getting the rest of the defence time to reorganise and stuff like that.
Yeah. Who did we play after Dortmund?
After Dortmund. Between Dortmund and Atlanta, we played Aberdeen.
Oh no, sorry, Ross County. It was Ross County. Was it after them? Was it?
It was Aberdeen before Atlanta.
And then who's after Atlanta?
We played 3-0 game the other day against Motherwell.
Yeah.
Again, another very professional performance, has to be said.
Aye.
With one of the worst tackles you'll ever see in football.
That was terrible.
I was reading up about a thing there, and people were saying, you kind of have to agree with what they're saying, like that Maida hasn't been on form of late. You know, is he carrying an injury or something like that? But I was reading up then, right, when he was on international duty, right, with Japan in the last international phase, their manager was using him in training, Mark, right, as a right wing back, like a left wing back. So he wasn't playing in his natural position under Celtic. And I'm wondering, was that so much conditioned into him during international break? And Roger said it as well, like it's like when you're coming back from the international break, you need to kind of reprogram the way you want to play for Celtic. And I wonder, has that thing with Japan actually affected me? That
I might have,
but I don't think you're going to keep up the level he was at, though, Paul. Do you know, I get what you're saying, but the level that Maeda started the season with, it was never going to be possible to keep that level up for the whole season. And players are going to have, you know, all players are going to have dips and troughs and everything else. And you see a lot of people are very critical at the minute, slightly changing the subject, apologies, but of Engels.
Aye.
You know, and then you're like, he's 11 million. He's not going to be, if he was that good a player, he wouldn't be at Celtic. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but he wouldn't be. He's come in and he's been excellent to start with. Yeah, he's dipped a little bit, but that's expected. I mean, people don't. There was times where McGregor for a whole season nearly, or last season, whenever it was in the horrors. He had 3 or 4 good games near the end of the season, but he's come back this season and he looks a different player. So like, players are going to have peaks and troughs. They're not going to be sensational for the whole year. But that's why Celtic now have built a squad, and you know, I think Engels is a fine player. I really do, but you know, I wouldn't be critical of him or judging him in an Atlanta game. Maybe that's not necessarily a game for him where he's not going to get a lot of ball. Maybe he's not your defensive style midfielder that you maybe need. But you know, I think he'll come good. I think he'll be a cracking player.
Oh, I totally agree with that, Terence. I mean, he's played in all 3 of the midfield positions, right? And I thought the other night, when he was playing like Callum McGregor role, I thought he had a great game the other night. And again, I think people think because he's an £11 million price tag in that, I think people are expecting him to be like Messi.
Yeah, I think they're expecting 2 or 3 goals every game and stuff like that. And that's not going to happen. Like,
he's not that type of player. He's not I'd compare him maybe to like your kind of, but like Petrov maybe.
Yeah, that's a fair.
Aye, so I really, I mean, he's not took it really the last couple of weeks. Not took a game by the scruff of the neck or that. But again, he's just in the door and stuff like that.
Mm.
And
it gets back as well to dragging their heels at our side, bringing these players in. If he'd been in maybe a few weeks earlier, he'd maybe be a wee bit more settled into the country and stuff like that. Evening 420, thanks for coming in, mate. Nice to see you, buddy.
Even getting used to the way Rodgers wants to play as well, Mark. You know what I mean? He probably came in and did his own game in the first couple of games, and then Rodgers said, I want to start doing this now. And he's adjusting his game to the way Rodgers wants him to play, and he's just getting used to that, you know?
Yeah, but like if you look at it, Paul, even like, and I'll hold my hand up 100%. And I'm sure you're probably the same, Mark. When Kun came in, I was like, who's this guy? Like, he was terrible. Like, obviously, we didn't realize the dentistry side of things with the tooth and how much he had lost weight and everything else. But when Kun came in, everyone was like, this guy's at 3 million. This is a waste of 3 million. And now he looks a completely different player.
Isn't it frightening though, Terence? You've seen there the other night, the drop off in our wingers that are coming on, you know?
Honestly, there's a huge drop there, Paul. I'll agree with you. Like,
I thought we were terrible. I thought we were better off the start of the game there, give the guide dogs the fucking Palma to show him how to get down the line. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, he's not cutting it, I'm afraid.
I've said it for the very first time I seen him playing, that he was never a winger. If anything, I'd try him through the middle, and if they're not going to try there, we need to just move him on.
Yeah.
Because even Yang showing up better than Palma is, do you know what I mean? I'd like to see, I think there's a player in that, Yang.
I do too. I think in fairness to him, Mark, Yang looks like he can create a little bit. He works well with the full back on the side. Palma goes down the wing and 99 times out of 100 he cuts in. Every time he cuts in, I don't think at least Yang will try go inside, he'll go outside, he'll try link with the full back overlapping or the full back going inside him, and he's got a good work rate. I don't know, just that Palma lad, there's just something about him. You'd rather James Forrest on the wing there than Palma, and no disrespect meant to James Forrest, but we should have been a 34-year-old guy. Yeah, you shouldn't be like, if you're in Palma's shoes, you shouldn't be hoping that's the case. You know what I mean?
But I'm trying to think, was there any talk of Yang leaving in the summer?
No, Mark, but I think, do you know what?
Do you think maybe Rodgers sees something in him?
I would think so, right? But what I was thinking there, if we did bring someone in January, right? Now, this is only saying if we did put Yang out on loan till the end of the season, or I think a loan might actually do him good and get regular football in the Scottish League.
Mm-hmm.
He's not getting ahead of Kuhn. Like you see,
No,
when
and we don't. He's not getting in front of Kuhn, and we don't really need him as backup anyway. Well, James Forrest here should maybe be better out on loan at somebody. Aye, definitely, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that the other night. It was like Casey, maybe Rodgers just he saw something in him in training that thought, with a wee bit of work, I could make this guy a decent player. He's working. He's doing everything I'm asking for him. He's working hard, and he is getting a bit better.
You see him there for the assist, like for Alistair Johnson. When he did get down the line, he got the ball in. It's there was too many times during that game, and especially the first half, when himself and Palmer either took too many touches, or like Terence said, the two of them kept cutting in. And we saw that last season under Rodgers, and then Rodgers actually took him out. He took Palmer and he took Yang out, and that's why we started bringing in James Forrest, because I thought that's one thing I think anyway that Rodgers doesn't want his wingers to do, Mark, is keep cutting in. Like, he wants them to go down the wings, you know.
See, you need to mix it up a bit, because it's like, for me personally as well, Paul. But I think Kuhn cuts in too often as well.
Well, he's a shot in him then, though, Mark. Do you get me?
Aye, no, I know, but it's still kind of predictable.
Mm-hmm. But when he does go down,
you want your wingers to be confusing their fullbacks. You want Kuhn to get the ball,
Mark,
and they don't know, oh, is he going to go inside or is he going to go outside? Defenders, they know playing against Kuhn, although it's not really doing them much good, he's still doing well and getting by him and that. But defenders, they know 80% of the time that Kuhn's going to cut inside with that.
Mm-hmm.
But just what Terence put the conversation about him started with. Terence, that's just another example that, like, players get wrote off and such. But it's happened to so many players. Even we signed. Somebody brought up the forum earlier on, and I answered it. They were talking about this Engel stuff and that. I think there's a section of the Celtic support that it's impossible to please. No matter what Celtic do, no matter who they sign, no matter what they do, they always look for a negativity. They always need to have something to moan about it. They can't just. Do you get what I mean? An example of this wasn't maybe it's the kind of same thing. The other week when the team sheet came out, when Cal McGregor missed the game, right? Somebody on Twitter said, "Is this Rodgers starting to phase out Callum McGregor for the team?" It's the first game the guy's missed in fucking 25 years now. Do you know what I mean? And is this Rodgers trying to the beginning of Rodgers phasing Callum McGregor out the team?
The last time McGregor was out when he got the elbow into the face against, was it Alloa or something like that?
But
but what I'm saying is McGregor's only out, Mark, if he's injured.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know he's not?
We've spoke about it that even with as a form a bit, he should be dropped into that stuff like that. And I think a few did think that, to be funny, he was actually injured again. But imagine that's your first thought. Or that Rodgers must be trying to get McGregor out the team because he's 31, 32 now. I mean, by your head.
But how many times, Mark, have we said on here that Callum McGregor should be in a position to be able to be rested?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Celtic are home to Dundee, and I'm not being disrespectful to Dundee or any of those other sides. But if Callum McGregor can't be rested, and you can't bring in Hitate, Engels, Bernardo, McGowan, who's excellent, whoever it is, into the midfield, and can't win a game, then you have to question those individuals in the midfield. Simple as that. Callum McGregor has to be able to be rested. Like the same way that Carter Vickers, we were worried that if he was out, we'd struggle. Now it's going to be a case that probably the two boys of Scales and Trusty, one of them's going to be dropped now. And would you argue the point that either of them should be dropped? Debatable, like.
It's a tough decision, isn't it?
Neither of the two of them have done anything wrong to justify not being selected, but you know that one of them won't be selected come the weekend. You just know one of them is going to be on the bench. Carter Vickers is going to start, and probably Scales, who's been probably, again, I'm slightly biased, but probably the best defender Celtic have had this season so far, will probably not be playing. I think he'll go with Trusty, and I think he'll go with Carter Vickers and Trusty.
Well, we'll go with that. I was going to wait till later on, but since you brought up...
Sorry.
No, it's no hassle. So what's your team then for Aberdeen?
Obviously, Schmeichel, AJ. I think he's going to be the one that I think he's going to pick is Carter Vickers, Trusty, the Spanish lad, Viola, or whatever it's called.
Bali,
yeah.
Bali.
Yeah. McGregor, Engels. I think I'm going to say Bernardo, Maeda, Kuhn, and I think he'll start Kyogo.
Now there, Bobby's just put up a team there, and he's done. He's picked Scales or Carter or
Bobby,
Trusty.
we only just identified. Did you have that copy and paste by fucking a 5:30 today? It's knowing that we last for the team. How fast? My God, boy! I was only thinking of my team there, like, and you had printed and everything on the computer. Jesus.
No, the only reason
capital letters and everything. He's pure shouting at us, Paul.
But the only reason. I don't
think Scales. I think Scales will start a day. I hope
he does because he's left-footed. I'm thinking that might be the only side of it. That there's two right-footers if Carter Vickers and Trusty start. But
no, Trusty's a left-footer.
Is he left-footer? I thought he was a righty.
No, Trusty's a lefter. I know that's the thing about it. Aye, it's him and Scales for that left side.
Oh well, then he's starting ahead of Scales. I tell you that now. He shouldn't, but he will.
We didn't pay $6 million for him to sit in the benchmark. You know.
But
he's starting.
For me, it's down to merit.
You know, I think.
I'll say this.
I think.
Carter Vickers doesn't deserve to start Denmark.
That's what I was going to say, Terence. For me, it's Carter Vickers that needs to try and fight his way back into the team. Scales shouldn't need to be fighting to keep his place in the team.
Exactly.
He's just he's been the best defender. He's been the best defender so far this season, and he's the best defender for long spells last season as well.
Yeah, if like the performance the two boys put in against Atlanta centre back was unbelievable. It was last line of defence, throwing their bodies on the line, everything, and we all said before how much of a loss we would be without Carter Vickers. The two lads that are there now deserve to start. I know it might be slightly controversial. Everyone mightn't agree with that, and that's fair enough. We all have our own opinions, but they've done nothing wrong for either one of those to be dropped. Not a thing wrong. And I don't know one of them will go, but I think it's very harsh.
I agree with that, Terence.
I see a lot of people picking Taylor as well. Not a chance. Would I pick Taylor? Not a chance. Over Via? No. Via has 4 assists already this season in the first couple of games that he has. And if you watch the game back there against Dundee there in the first maybe 10, 15 minutes, Scales gave away 3 simple, sloppy passes into the middle of the field. I think we've better wit in that team when Via starts in that role. I think he gets up that line. He gets into the box more. And like we're on about Palma not going down the wing yesterday, the other day. But where was Taylor overlapping him maybe once or twice during that game? You know. So like,
in fairness, that's never been his forte, Paul. In fairness to Taylor,
I think the team actually looked more balanced. With Vi in there, I think we looked more balanced on the wings. The left backs overlapping, you Valentine Johnson, you Vi overlapping, and we opened up the pitch more. Do you get me? If I and Alison Johnson are up the field and if they're overlapping, they're taking away a second defender or they're away from that back line, and it's opening up more space for like Bernardo, Ingles, and stuff like that to get in there. You know,
I'd say the roadrunner wouldn't be. I'd say the roadrunner wouldn't be able to overlap Maeda. To be fair, he's too quick. Like you'll never get in front of him. Like
no, but you get what I'm saying. Like you know what I mean.
I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying. He's more of an option going forward. Definitely, I agree with you there.
Defenders, like you saw there the other night, you had McGowan and Ingles and Bernard. The space they had in and around the middle of the field because the pitch is opened. Do you know? Like, you'd argue a point for McGowan to start as well, like. But I'm just coming on to that. Like we're talking about the likes of fucking Scales and stuff like that. 1 million signing and McGowan is turned into a right player for Celtic. And the best thing about it is he's relishing playing for Celtic. He's loving every single bit of it. You know, and you can see that on his face after every game when he scores. And even when he misses, I watched the Sligo game there. Christ, for my sins, I watched it. Jesus Christ, you see Palmer taking the fucking match ball, scoring a hat-trick off fucking Sligo. My God, man. And he smiled. If I see his smile once more, my God. But the joy, like the frustration on McGowan's face when he didn't score in a friendly against Sligo, you know, and he's only just come into this club, and you swear he was at the club for years. The way he was guiding the youngsters in the team, Mark, where he was telling them what to do and stuff like that, you know.
But even the other day, Paul, in the Bovril match, he was demanding the ball. That's what you want from a player. Like he's demanding the ball. He wants to get on the ball all the time. Like I don't want to say he looks like your Callum McGregor replacement before people start tweeting or whatever they do with those things. But that's what you could see in him. You could see him like going into the McGregor role in time, like because he demands the ball. He looks for the ball. He's driving forward. Like he looks a seriously good player. And as I said, we spoke about it beforehand, Mark. We were saying again, it was taken so. I was surprised Celtic took so long to get it because it was only $1 million. But it's an unbelievable boy, like, and it's a guy who's living every fan's dream. Like he's living every fan's dream. This is something he's probably wanted his whole life to play for Celtic. He's an out and out Celtic fan, and now he's living it and he's loving it. And he's probably getting an extra. You're getting an extra 5 or 10% out of him because he knows what it means to be there. Like, you know what I mean? He's probably got his friends in the stand and his family in the stand, and it's massive for him. Like,
it's like when Toby plays for Dunfermline, like he has me in the stands. Like, you know what I mean? So like that's the same as McGowan with his father in the stand. Like I father figure for Toby.
But I thought that band came in that you couldn't be more than 2,000 yards near him. No?
I had dreadlocks. I had dreadlocks for Halloween, so they didn't spot me. But
what about the ankle bracelet? Did that not go off?
No, I snipped it.
Is Toby still there, Paul?
Huh?
Is Toby still there?
No, he's in Dunfermline. He's on loan at Dunfermline.
I thought he was still there beside you.
No, he's actually doing very well for Dunfermline. But he's actually doing very himself and
he's in the witness protection program, Mark.
There's another lad in there as well for Dunfermline, and Dane Murray's actually doing very well on loan as well. The young lad Dane Murray. It's good for him to get a bit of match time after his horrific injury as well. Dane Murray, you know.
Aye. But anyway, I'm back to that. I'm saying it'll be Carter Vickers and Scales. I think I don't think players should just get dropped for the sake of it when they've been playing at the top of their game for so long for us. And I know Trusty cost us £6 million and stuff like that, but Carter Vickers and Scales is our mainstay. That's our partnership. And if Carter Vickers is going to walk back into the team, then it's up to Trusty to break up that partnership that's done us so well for the last year or so.
I think it'll be the other way myself, but I hope I'm wrong. But I think it'll be the other way.
I mean, as well, Mark.
I don't think anybody saying Scales deserves to be dropped.
No,
I
like,
don't know
No,
if
I don't
that's
either.
Scales,
No, I
Mark,
think
you're looking
that's
at
maybe about
Scales as well
420
this year,
about
there, right?
420
And we're
thought.
going on about Schmeichel's distribution. Scales has actually got very good in the ball as well this year. You know, his passing it seems to be better than it was last season. You know,
Their Patrick saying we'd get more than 6 million for Scales if we sold them in January. I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that, Patrick.
sure, what are we looking for?
I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know what his
8
contract. I'm not
million?
sure what his
Was
contract. He
that
must
what
have
they
a
were
couple of years
crossing,
to go.
Mark?
What, Paul?
Was it the Barnaby fella? Was it 8 million? We were crossing. They crossed the Brazilian club there. They wanted 8 million.
I don't know if that was true, was it?
That can't be right.
No, 8.3
Yeah, well, we
million
paid
for
fucking
Bernabei.
3.5 for him, didn't we?
I'd say it's 800,000. It must have been 800,000.
You know,
Even in Celtic, it ain't nice to see you, bud.
That's a typo, surely.
Unless it's been like maybe 8, whatever. He's not even in Argentina, it's Brazil he's in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless it's like their 8.3 million in their money. Do you know what I mean?
It's about 750, I'd say, euros.
That's another strange one, Bernabei. Well, there we go. That's what we're talking about. That brings on to the next thing. We're head of football and operations appointment. What do you make it, lad? Paul Tisdale, Chilby Hat, the lot. Dedicated follower of fashion.
Right,
Dr. Football, is it? Dr. Football, he calls himself. But you know what, Mark? He's actually supposed to be highly regarded.
Aye.
You know, he's looking there, and he's like when he first came into Exeter, when he first came into them, and I was reading up about when he came into them as manager. And it was the same as all these lower leagues. They were buying in players, Mark. It was like Celtic, Mark, buying players for big money that basically a waste of money, Mark, when they didn't have that budget. You get me? They didn't have. So he went away and he got rid of all these players, similar to what Les Ferdinand did in QPR. They got rid of all these big players. And then he started investing in the youth and started buying players in and around their age. But I think he'll actually be good for Celtic but he'd be good for Celtic, Mark. But the only thing that is going to hammer Celtic is a reserve league.
Paul, that was See, there was a couple of things that was one of the things I was going to bring up that I was hoping that he would be kind of looking at. If he's any man worth his salt, I mean, it was a bit. See, as soon as his name came up, we all looked him up. It was a bit of a laughing stock and that. But I mean, I tell you what Ed Wan tells about is, do you know what I mean? He's like right across anything with English football. And he says it was just that he was unlucky that no bigger team gave him a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But no club, no matter what level they were at, wanted to draw Exeter in the cup while he was managing them. They were one of the hardest teams across the leagues to beat.
But Mark, would you be for this? Like, and I see people like laughing, like, oh, Celtic getting the cheapest option thing. It's about time Celtic bought someone in from the outside rather than promoting within. Because remember, there was a time there was a Darren O'Dea or Steve McManus or John Kennedy were put up for this position there a couple of years back, weren't they? You know, a director of football. Do you know?
Aye, I mean, people say, "Oh, who would you rate? Who would you have picked?" I mean, hundreds of people ask me that, but I'll honestly admit it. I've not got an answer. I mean, you dream about it, somebody like Ronnie Dyler coming in and revolutionising stuff, or Ange taking up the job, but there's that many kind of facets to the job of doing that you don't know if even Ange or Ronnie Dyler could handle it.
But a lot of it,
this guy's in charge of this guy's basically Brendan Rodgers, his boss.
Yeah,
and the kind of corporate structure and stuff like that.
But a lot of it, Mark, as well, though, as I said, we're all waiting to see. But a lot of his success or failure, in my opinion, will result in the way the club operate. Like if his hands are tied, so to speak.
Aye. If everything's still going to get run by above and just the usual, he's just another cog in the wheel, but nothing at the final decision's getting changed.
That's the problem, Terence. That's the good point, Terence.
If he's coming in and he's told, this is your role. As far as we're concerned, you have full access to ABC, and this is what you do. If you think that whatever players or whatever between yourself and Brendan, whatever way you're looking at it, these are guys that you like, and these guys that you're looking at, whatever it is, whatever way they do it, we're happy then to have a quick chat and discuss it with you. But you can go along the lines of looking like that. If it's a case that he's told before he starts, yeah, you can look, but by the way, you can't look at any player that's over 6 million, just for argument's sake. And you can only look at this, you can only look at that. Then you know, what's the point? Don't bring in a guy to do a job and then say to him he's hamstrung. He's hamstrung, like, you know what I mean? That'd be one of my fears I'd have with it.
But would you have took the job, Terrace, if it was going to be like that? I mean,
but at the same time, Mark, you don't know.
He's not done much like officially with any kind of clubs and stuff like that. But it's would he have come in? I mean, he's obviously got. I mean, let's face it, he's got a bit of an ego, and he's obviously got confidence in his ability. So that, I mean, really, that for me as well is a kind of good thing, because we don't want Rodgers' ego to be a dominating over the director of football, affecting decisions that maybe are a bit out of even Rodgers' remit about the youth teams and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and that's a fair point.
I'm delighted. I'm delighted at the appointment that finally Celtic's made an appointment at that kind of level.
I'm delighted they made an appointment. The only other worry that I would have is other worry I would have is, and again, I have no basis for this. So if anyone knows, like yourselves, you can correct me on this. But does the guy have any, or is it important? Does the guy have any knowledge of the European side of football? The players in Europe. I know because we're all going to think, oh, he was manager of Exeter and he was down the lower divisions. Is that his niche?
I think he's one of these guys. He's all our fit. He's all. I think he's a bit of a Rodgers type of guy. He's a fit.
He's been around Terence. He's been looking at since he kind of came away from the management side. He's been going around different leagues, visiting different clubs and stuff like that. Like, you know.
Okay, fair enough, Paul. I didn't know that, but that was kind of something when you see his former clubs and stuff, you're kind of thinking like, oh, does he have that side of to him as well? But look, if that's what he's been doing, then fair enough. You know what I mean?
But Brian's saying there, Tisdale's been working with Celtic over the summer, etc., according to Brendan Rodgers.
He was there, Mark. He was in and around it, yeah. He was. But what I heard, do you know what I heard today?
Paul, wait now, but it was a fucking shambles of Windy.
He was shocking.
That's not a good sign to say, oh, he was here during the summer, because that summer Windy there was a shambles.
Yeah,
I know it turned out well, and we were all happy the way it turned out, but I mean, come on, we were on here.
Mark,
he's angry at it. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe that's something, Mark, that he saw in this transfer window, that we can't let it to get our players in. Do you know? You can't. Maybe that's what he actually saw this, and maybe down the line, Mark, he might change that. Like, you know, because I thought it was ridiculous the minute we saw Matt O'Reilly. We immediately signed fucking Eagles and Adamida. Do you know? It's ridiculous.
Even the look McCowan signing, Paul.
Even Bernard.
That should have been done as soon as the Scottish window was open, if we were in for McCowan, for the sake of £1 million. That's
all, yeah. That was ridiculous.
The McCowan deal, Mark, actually nearly fell through because it was getting so late in the night that it nearly fell through.
But even the Ida one, they always knew that they wanted Ida back. What's the problem? Just selling.
I don't think that was more Celtic. I actually think that was more Norwich.
I think it was more. They were probably holding out. They were probably holding out for what they want. But Paul, you have to remember, they were saying 8 million from or whatever it was at the time. But Ida's 8 million has made Celtic 40 million, maybe more, because he scored vital goals to win the league with the Motherwell and the Hibs. He scored a cup winner. So, I mean, I know, but Celtic can't. You can't say, because, like, when the player comes up and he plays well, it's going to add value to him if he's gone on loan. It's just a fact. It's simple as that. Unless there's something agreed beforehand.
Look what we got for Mickey Johnson. Do you know what I mean? And we put him out on loan. Do you know, Jesus Christ, look what we got for him.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you Celtic going down saying they want they're offering 4 million if Norwich are offering saying, well, we want
it's ridiculous.
8
But
million.
that's been
It's just
Celtic's,
stupid.
that's been Celtic's approach over the years, though, Mark, hasn't it? Penny pinching.
It has, Paul,
drag
but
the heels out.
it has, Paul. But going back to what you're saying is, if this guy was around at the window, whether he's involved with it or not is another issue, is another side of the story. But the Ida one was a nonsense. The McGowan one was a nonsense. The Bernardo one was a nonsense. You know, they nearly was a case that unless they sell Matt O'Reilly, they're not going to do this. This is the one time where Celtic had a bucket load of cash in the bank. Even if they didn't sell Matt O'Reilly, they should have still got these players in anyway.
Exactly what.
Aye. That Kyogo sitter the other night.
Oh my word, that was horrific.
God.
That was a shocker.
Is it?
I mean, was it the first one? At least it hit the keeper. Do you know what I mean? You could kind of at least it hit the keeper. That was the first one, but that's it. Was it the second one that just? Oh,
in on goal. That was the first one. The one in on goal, and I think was the first. Yeah, no, was the first one in on goal. He's played in, and like it didn't even get close to hitting on goal, but it was a dreadful effort.
No, that was it. That was the one I'm thinking of then. Aye.
Yeah. It was in the first half. It was like the one in the second half. The keeper pulls off a good save. Fair enough. But the one in the first half, oh my God, it was like missing your mouth with a fork. It was horrendous.
Brian, the ball bobbled. Aye, so it did, Brian. So it did.
Kyogo's fucking balls bubbled. That's what they fucking did. Not the fucking soccer ball.
Well, it was another good result though against Motherwell. To be fair to them,
aye,
you know.
Aye.
You know, so at the end of the day, and it was good to see that there was changes in the side. Everything stayed together. The players that came in did well. Most of them did well.
I've been very impressed with this season. And any time I see him, I just think he's reading of the game. You could see his being a captain for his team. Is Bernardo. More and more I see him, the more and more I can see why Brendan Rodgers wanted him. You know, I think Bernardo.
He's got a physical side about him too, Paul. He's actually got a physical. He's one of the guys that would see him win a tackle.
I thought him there. Mike Mark was saying there that Eagles played well there against Dundee, but I thought Bernardo was the last two games was actually brilliant in there. You know,
He's been excellent. To be fair, he has, Paul. He's been excellent.
But for me, he's like Engels. He's another all-rounder.
Yeah, Mark, he is.
Do you know what I mean? It's as if Rodgers...
He can pick out a pass, Mark, and everything. Like, you know, he really can. Like, you know...
I mean, is Rodgers trying to, like, build their midfield, but their midfielder, no matter what actual position they're in, they can do any job that's asked of them. Do you know what I mean? They can do a bit of defending, they can do a bit of attacking, they can do... I mean, it is... I mean, Bernardo, again... The dragging the heels of the summer and that.
Did you see that the other day? Did you see he shot the other day? Did you see he shot the other day? Like he was outside the box and he was going one way and he pulled the ball the other, and next he just left a shot and it just skimmed the post. Did you see that against Dundee?
Yeah.
You know that
he looks a good player though, but he's got something that Celtic had been lacking as well. And even to be fair, as Mark has pointed out, Engels. And I said it before, they've got a bit of physicality. And maybe, Mark, it's in there as well to help Callum McGregor, because as good a player as Callum McGregor is, it's the one weakness, if you want to call it, in his game. He's not a good tackler. He's not a good he's not physically, you know, if there's a 50-50 challenge with another guy, he may lose out more times than not. You know, he's just not he's an excellent player, but he's not good at that. And you think when you've got a Bernardo in there and you've got an Engels in there, they're nearly able there to help him and kind of cover up that area that he doesn't have to do that role as much, you know. So I think Bernardo and Engels, and even for me, even McGowan is ahead of Hatate at the minute.
I was just going to say something there when we're talking about the midfield and moving forward, right?
Sorry, I keep bursting the bubble here. Sorry about that.
No, sorry. No, you're just bringing up stuff that, do you know what I mean, we're planning on talking about anyway. See, next summer, would you sell Hatate and buy Lennon Muller?
Oh yeah. God, it
See
would.
all that? I mean, see all this talking that. I mean, I was saying the same thing in that. Even me and Mikey were talking about it the other day on the phone and stuff like that. We were like, we could you just put some money down from the new and loan him back out to Motherwell. I mean, but the thing about it is, he's only come the summer. He's only got a year left in his contract. So he's getting Celtic in the summer. I can't see him signing a new contract.
He's a unit too, Mark, ain't he? Lennon Miller. The size of him there, he's a unit. So
there's no point. It would be stupid to buy a guy with 1 year left in his contract and loan him back to the club. So would you take him and me and Mikey were saying take him and maybe loan him to like maybe Aberdeen or something like that? But no, see now, I think Lennon Miller could play for the. I'm not saying again not Champions League level and stuff like that, but Lennon Miller could play for the Celtic first team easily against Scottish teams and stuff like that.
Just going on, Mark, about Hatate, and it's something I said to you, Mark, in Jesus, I think it's a couple of weeks back, that I think Hatate's questioning his own ability at the moment, because anytime he goes away in international duty, he's not getting picked. And when he came out with that comment saying, sometimes I think I'm actually not good enough to play, I think he's questioning his own ability, and he's just lacking severe confidence at the moment, Hatate.
But Paul, see, when you think back at it, we've always been making excuses for Hatate. There's a couple of good games and stuff like that, but I mean, really, is he? He's never been a consistent player for Celtic.
No, he hasn't. No, but I always think that any time he just goes away. He's grand before international duty, but when he goes away now, he just goes through a phase.
Well, you said that, but you said earlier on is the same with Maeda.
That was of the manager.
But no, but says that's what I mean. Is that a problem?
But that's really what going by what Roger said. That when certain players come back from international, you have to recondition them.
He turns 27 this month.
Hatate's head has been turned, Paul. Hatate's head has been turned.
He's pissed off that he actually didn't get the move, so and maybe like
I think that's what that is.
I think that's it. 100% that's it.
Got the move and he didn't.
I think he wanted a move that never materialised. Definitely, but I mean, as he's 27, how many times has he been injured?
Because
I think Paul, he wanted to.
Do you remember that time? Do you remember that time there was talks that what's the lad's name down in Brighton? That's his buddy, Mutera, something like that.
Aye. I know who you're talking about. Aye.
And there was talks that time when Andrew's there that Brighton were looking at him as well that time, and I think now that Matt Riley's gone down there, I think that boat has sailed. That I can't see Brighton coming for Hatate.
But it was Leicester, wasn't it?
Pissed him off.
I thought it was Leicester as well. But I'd say, Paul, his notion as well is I'm not getting an international game, so to speak, as you're saying. But then he's probably going and he's probably listening to people going and the manager going, well, look, you're not going to get a game if you're playing with Celtic. You're playing in Scotland. If you were playing with Leicester in the Championship or whatever, you'll definitely get on the team. And I have no doubt players are speaking or saying those things, because you hear like
the minute he left Celtic, Mark, and he signed for Brighton, he was in the Danish squad.
I know.
Oh yeah. But even Paul, you'd hear the Japanese manager and going before that when it was Kyogo, Maeda and Hatate.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
They were coming out criticising the Scottish League, like. And I'm not being funny, but they're picking obviously Japanese players. I don't know how good the Japanese league is, but I'd fancy the chances that Celtic or a couple of the teams in the Scottish league would certainly be better than the Japanese. But there's a stereotype there that you play in Scotland.
This fella's supposed to be a right nutcase though as well, though. There's like a lot of the Japanese fans themselves actually that don't like him. You know, they thought he was going to leave after the last World Cup, and he didn't, and that kind of pissed him off, you know.
But I do think it's had his
Kyogo. See the thing about that with Kyogo, but it's like, I mean, Celtic fans going about Kyogo is the best for Fidfit Larson and stuff like that. So see if he's as good a striker, surely the Japanese manager kind of got to pick him. You know what I mean? It would be like Norway turning the Norwegian manager saying, all right, I'm not picking that Haaland because he doesn't suit my style of play. There'd be uproar, do you know what I mean?
You look at Haaland from Manchester City, Mark. Does Haaland actually suit the way Pep Guardiola wants to play? No, he doesn't. But Pep knows he's going to get goals.
I think there's got to be a split in that come the summer. Pep's leaving. I think Haaland's looking to move on for him as well, meant to be.
Yeah.
Back to the Hatate, aye. After his time, as I said there,
I would say him,
27, turns 27 this month. He's in and out the team, injured, low form. He's never came.
I suppose
one game he's amazing.
Class Mark at the moment as one of our fringe players, Mark, at the moment. You know, because he's been out of the team.
Well, Mark, even for the Motherwell side of it, just to go like, and I agree with you, Paul. I think he's a fringe player, definitely. Come January, maybe going back to a point you made earlier, would Celtic not approach Motherwell and go, do you know what? We'll give you Yang on loan for the rest of the season as a kind of a as a down payment.
They tell us fuck off.
No, but give him on loan for the rest of the season as just basically, in a sense, to say this is a kind of a down payment on
a goodwill gesture, kind of.
Yeah, a goodwill gesture that we're happy enough to go with Lennon Miller, and we'll agree whatever it is behind closed doors, Lennon Miller fee for whatever it is, and I'm sure they're going to come back with a figure of 8 or 9 million for Lennon Miller. I imagine something like that.
But look what we're talking about there. Like,
good night, Brian. Sorry for coming in again, bud.
We're talking about bringing in Lennon Miller there and stuff like that. But one player that seems to be kind of frozen out, or we heard Rodgers saying there's a talent there. I'd like to work with him and see. Odin Holm, what's going on there?
Oh, I think there's more chance of me playing for Celtic and him, Paul.
You know, like
was there not a team photo the other week and he wasn't even in it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that answers your question, Paul.
It was the same with Big Bosun, but he said the same stuff about Big Bosun, and then Big Bosun was away, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. But he said apparently the two of them reports at the start of the season were that they weren't cutting it in training, and they weren't. Mm-hmm. There was a couple of comments coming out that they have to do an awful lot more work.
Do you know what I think? What pissed off Rodgers with Odin Holm? But do you remember their last season?
Monaco.
He went in for he went in for tackle, and he put up on his Twitter, "Sit down, bitch," on his Twitter page. Do you think that maybe pissed Roger off?
I'd say, Paul, to be fair, I'd say Rodgers doesn't even look at that stuff. I'd say Rodgers looks at what he sees in front of him, and he's looking at it and going, the guy, he said, he came out in the open, he said that Bosman Law and that Holm have a hell of a lot of work to do if they want to be involved in the first team squad. He said at the start of the season, and the writing was on the wall for both of them.
It was basically abilities and everything, wasn't it? They need to work hard. That was basically what it was.
Abilities, attitude, everything. It was abilities, attitude. It was the whole 9 yards. It was basically like, it was a polite way of saying, lads, you're suppers to requirements. You're two lazy bastards. You're not working hard enough. You don't have enough talent. Maybe their egos were too big. I don't know. But like when you see some of the players, Paul, that are still there, and those guys are gone, it tells you all you need to know. That one fella looked a tidy player when he came in, but he's obviously blotted his copybook quite badly, because he's nowhere near the side, and he'd be like, I'm sure Rodgers would be bringing in young guys
or anything like that, or anything anymore. Like, you know what I mean?
But there's no requirement to have him in the squad, Paul. You'd be better off having one of the young lads from the B team in there, or the Lowland League, whatever you want to call it, the B's team. You'd rather have one of those young lads in there that's a midfielder, rather than bringing him in.
Is it Mark? Is it Tully?
Yeah, he was on the bench, I think.
Like has a young head in him. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of glued on and taking.
I'd say you could forget about your man, Paul. But it goes back. That also goes back to the point, Paul, of buying £2 and £3 million players. Bag loads of them and hoping that they come good.
Was Mark, like if a young player picks up a young players award in their country, oh yeah, we'll have to buy him. Young player of the year in Norway, yeah, we'll have to buy him. Do you know what I mean? It was the same with Kobayashi. Oh, young player of the year over in Japan, we'll have to buy him. You know,
But see, be fair, that home came with a bit of pedigree. There was other
He
teams
did,
looking
yeah,
at him and
he
stuff
did.
like that. And obviously, he's only a young boy, and he obviously a bit of an ego to go and change his name legally to like his middle name to Tiago or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's a bit weird, but I think, Matt, was this a problem? I don't know. I'm only surmising. Was this a problem when he was back? Where we got him for, or is this a problem if he came to a club the size of Celtic and the better money and the higher profile and stuff like that?
He went from being a big fish in a small pond to a very small fish in a bigger pond, and he probably didn't like it.
And he's just now a barnacle, leech stone to the side of a big ship.
Yeah, you remember, Mark, when he was in his old side, he was probably the first name on the team sheet. He was probably the star man or up there, been the star guy. He's come to Celtic now and things haven't worked out and he's nowhere near the pecking order. He's probably, as I said, if he was training, would he even be training with the first team squad? Do you know, he probably would be, but he's fallen so far down it. He's understandably his pride and his ego and everything have been hit, but he's probably behaved quite poorly off the park, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
And that's obviously not helping him either, because Rodgers, like if you compare him with, say, a Yang, for argument's sake, people might like Yang, might be totally against Yang, but I would guarantee you that Yang's discipline and work rate are exemplary.
Appeals to Rodgers.
Yeah, he can see something that he can work with, and he can, like, if you tell Yang, look, I need you to do this, I need you to practice this, he's likely to stay after training and do it 1,000 times. Other guys are likely to go, like, Palmer are likely to head away straight away.
What you're saying there, like, I think, Mark, the kind of young player that Rodgers likes is a young player who would listen to him, has the right attitude, puts his head down, stays after training. What Terence said there, you think, but maybe Odin Holm was kind of doing his own, and Rodgers didn't want it. It's like, you've no time for this and stuff. Don't want you. Do you know what I mean? Like, we saw a lot of players, especially this summer, cleared out by Brendan Rodgers. You know, players who we actually didn't think were going to be. We didn't think Bosman Law was. I thought he was going to have a future Celtic, but Rodgers saw it like he's not. No, he's not my player. He's not. You know, he doesn't suit my thing. Like, he's not. Do you know?
But I
think that's the best thing about Rodgers, Mark. You know,
I don't think Rodgers
with the players.
I don't think he kind of harsh or hard on players and stuff like that. But you're saying, see if a player's working hard in training, doing everything that he's asked for, and Rodgers can tell that he's really applying himself, but he's just not going to be good enough for Celtic. Rodgers will help him find a move. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Phone up another manager and say, here, I've got such and such a player.
Yeah, look what he did with Kung, Mark. Look what he did with Kung with St. Mirren there last season.
I think Rodgers is that type of manager, but if you're just, I think if you're just, what is it, like,
acting the maggot,
taking the Mickey kind of thing, turning up and think you're all the bee's knees and stuff like that. I think Rodgers could be harsh with you then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I think as well, Mark, that's going to come back also from the coaching team. These are guys, the coaching guys that are there with your John Kennedys and these other guys that are there. They're there a while, and obviously the strength and conditioning coaches and all the fitness coaches, they're obviously going to have an input in this as well. And they're obviously going to, because these guys are all data driven anyway, and they can see whether, well, your man's really not putting it in. Your man is breaking his backside trying everything he could do. And as I said, Rodgers is watching this, and a lot of it's
blowing out his arse after a night in the drinking kind of stuff like that. It all shows up in his bleep tests and stuff.
Yeah, and
if you see the Tottenham player Van de Beek shit in his pants at Tottenham the other day.
What?
The Tottenham
there's really no need for that. I wouldn't even repeat that, Paul.
He shitted his pants in the pitch. You see the little blob come out and he shit his pants. Little poo came out onto the pitch.
Paul.
It was, I swear. It was like Gary Lineker. On the Italian 90. Was it Gary Lineker?
Gary Lineker done that. Aye. Where did that come from?
You said someone fell in their ass, so it just came back.
Right, if Thiago Holm came on as a sub against Aberdeen the morning and shot in the middle of the park, are you saying that's him setting his future
Lewis
as a
Palmer
Celtic
will
player.
probably
That's him.
stand.
Aye.
Lewis Palmer will probably
Where'd the-
stand next to
where
him,
did that
smiling
even
and start
come from?
doing it.
I don't know. The only way that would happen, Mark, is if he jumped the stand or jumped the Horden and ran into the middle of the field from some of the supporters area, because that's the only way he's going to be anywhere near Hampden.
I'd be more pissed off now, Mark, if I saw Lewis Palmer standing there smiling.
I mean, the thing about with Palma is, I mean, who was it? Was it a winger for Napoli we tried to get in loan? So it was Rodgers was meant to be looking for a winger.
I think,
coming
Mark,
in.
if we would have got a winger,
Was
I
it from
think
Roma,
Palmer was
Mark?
out.
I think it was a lad from Roma, I think it was. But
Was
it's
it
all the
Roma?
one. It's the lad from
Aye,
it was an Italian guy.
Palmer
And
was
because
out.
there was a team in for Palmer, wasn't it? And there was meant to be a move of his own, then all of a sudden it was off. And I think it was because our deal for this winger for Italy didn't work out and stuff like that. I don't think.
But
Palmer
I
would be
actually
there
like James Forrest on that side. I think James Forrest scored a fabulous goals last season, actually, on that side instead
Ericsson for Lazio, it was the guys in the chat are saying.
Well, okay, that's fair enough. Same city, different team.
They didn't want to sell him, didn't they? Ericsson, Lazio didn't want to sell him.
Was it no a loan we were looking for, Matt?
Yeah, but I don't think they could get someone in, Mark, in time and stuff like that, you know, and they weren't willing to sell him, you know.
I can tell you one thing: Celtic's track record in South Americans is fairly poor, anyway.
Aye, definitely. And I'll put that scout that we brought in had his speciality South America and all that. I know.
I'm assuming it's dishes and not players. It's the only one I can think of is Aguirre. That's it. The only one I can think of.
Aye. It's definitely not been a happy hunting ground. I mean, not just for us, but I mean, other Scottish teams have went there. Do you know what I mean? And it's never really. I mean, I can remember for a while.
Fuck's sake, Rangers are still going there for fuck's sake.
But I can remember for a while Dundee United and that were selling, like signing all these players for South America, these Argentinians and that you never heard in. Just, I mean, there was none of them really stuck out.
It's different, Mark. It's different. Like, you know,
it's a different way of life, Paul.
Yeah. Even get back to them, they sent that Seb Rosen title on that years ago. He was for Chile, I think it was, and it just, I mean, it looked as if he'd never seen a foot before in his life. It really was. He was a wee fat guy, man, with long hair and that.
Who was the fella, Mark? That's who was it? What was it? Harry Redknapp that signed a South American, and he never watched him play. And he said that he was a professional footballer, and your man never kicked a ball in his life. Do you remember about that? Harry Redknapp telling that story.
It might have been like Souness with Georgie Weah's cousin, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. But look, Celtic signed that Raphael Schmitz or whatever you call him for $5.5 million. Yeah, but they signed him on videos. They never saw him in the flesh. They saw him in videos by all accounts. So,
but see the thing about it as well, it was at the time. What was the guy's name? Waverley Luxemburgo or something. That was a Brazilian manager. He was taking bungs to give players caps because that helped them get these moves out of Europe and stuff like that.
Wow.
So I think Big Shite had he had 2 or 3 caps for Brazil before we signed him. So that kind of backed up that he was a decent enough kind of player, but it was all just in a wee backhander. You throw him a couple of caps and stupid friendlies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Even these days, but I mean, South Americans, even a lot of African players that's coming out.
It's more physical, Mark, isn't it? Than what kind of like it's more physical than the South American League. You know, the Scottish League is. You know.
Paul, it's a different pace. It's a different way of life. The football's played differently. Everything's played differently. Culturally, it's completely different. As I said, it's turning their world, so to speak, upside down. And they're coming to Scotland, as you said. The pace for them is way quicker. It's 10 times more physical. If you touched a fellow over in South America, he'd probably roll half a mile on the ground, and you might get a yellow card.
I think they're making a recording a series of The Walking Dead passing fucking Ibrox. But
so it's no coincidence that most of them don't don't really make it. Like, you know what I mean? It's just chalk and cheese. And I'd imagine if you put guys the other way, European footballers over there, they'd probably struggle over there as well.
Oh, into man, what's his name?
But Brazilians go to England.
Lewis Morgan's doing well over there, isn't he?
But Brazilians go down to England and play well. South Americans go down there and play well. Do you know what I mean? There's no...
Yeah, but they're probably good South Americans, Mark. Let's be fair.
That's what I mean in terms... But that's my point. That's the exact point I'm making. The ones that were coming to Scotland and that, 99% of them have been garbage and shite.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a lot of those South Americans, though, Mark, that are going to the Premier League. In a lot of cases, are coming from Europe.
Yeah.
You would get one that might be with, say, Benfica or even Real Madrid. The majority of them want to go to Real Madrid and Barcelona. You get ones there. You very rarely see, say, United or Liverpool or Arsenal or any of the Chelsea or any crowd sign someone, say, from Boca Juniors or River Plate or whoever they are. There are only two teams I can think of off the top of my head, or teams from that neck of the woods. You normally find that the South Americans been maybe played in the Bundesliga, or he's played in Portugal, or he's played in the Dutch league, and they come across because they've been there, they've done that.
Aye.
Celtic.
Tevez is probably maybe the kind of exception to the rule. He was like fresh off the kind of South American. Aye.
Yeah, he's probably the only one, but most of the other lads, like even Varane, he was playing, somewhere in Spain, I think, at the time, and a lot of the other guys were Celtic just go and pick some fella from, the back of beyond and go, I've seen his Wikipedia page. He looks a dynamite player. We'll bring him over, and it could be his twin brother for all we know, and they're all pants, absolute pants. None of them have played with a big side before they've gone to Celtic, or in Scotland's case, Scottish football. None of them have played with big teams in Europe, and all of a sudden they've come over. The only fella that you could say you could categorically have heard of was when Canija signed for Dundee.
Aye, but he'd been running the block. Aye, he'd been running the block in Europe and stuff.
He had, because he'd been with Argentina, a couple of others. He'd been with Pablo Escobar FC. He'd been with a couple of other teams. You know what I mean? So. He'd been with plenty of other sides. You'd know his name, but other than that, Mark, you wouldn't have known any of them. I wouldn't have known any of them.
Just catching up with the chat there. Portugal's a big. Did they not get dual nationality as well?
I don't know. They could.
I'm sure Portugal and Brazilians get kind of dual nationality.
Yeah, they probably would.
And I think that helps our like visas and stuff to get into Europe. So I think that's maybe why a lot of Brazilians they end up in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a market. It's not a market I'm wanting Celtic to even try to exploit. It's been proven to be a failure. As you say, well, as a Gary fair dues. Do you know what I mean? But that's one out of how many other years turns.
That's a lot, but there's enough for the rest of the world to concentrate on. They don't need to go there.
I'd rather be up there scouting Scandinavia. Do you know what I mean?
I don't understand how they don't go there more often, Mark.
Like Eastern Europe, Poland and places like that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, even the likes of Poland, Croatia.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, Slovenia.
All these guys like Ireland.
I know, yeah, but you look at
that annoys me. See, like I keep saying it, the young Irish boy, is it Evan Ferguson?
Yeah. Sure, Mark, look at the young lad there.
How did he slip? Isn't there a young Irish player that should slip through Celtic's net, or that Celtic shouldn't have even
like the
trying
amount
to
of young players, though, Mark, that are moving straight to England at the moment? Just ridiculous, man. Really is ridiculous.
He was at Celtic, Mark. Ferguson had a trial at Celtic, but he didn't make it.
Right.
He said that himself because he was on one of those little clips, and there happened to be lads from Scotland there, and they were saying, "What team do you support?" And he was like, "Man United." He says, "No, it's Scottish." He says, "Oh, Celtic all the way." And they said, "Would you ever play for Celtic?" Or he said, "Oh, he was at a trial. He was on trial at Celtic." He said, "When I was 15 or something like that." He said, "But I didn't make it." He said, "I wasn't. I didn't get a call." Basically, is what he said. So I know that's when you're 15 and when you're now just slightly different. I get it, but yeah, you know, it is what it is.
Is that again then? But terms, is that something that Paul Tisdale should be looking at?
Of course, it is. All those things, anything to do with outside the first team football, so to speak, he needs to look at that.
And overhaul of that, and like just even using that boy Ferguson as an example, who made that decision that he was too weak? He had to get called back.
But Mark, that's all and good. Like, you know, bringing in these players, you know, bringing in these young players, bringing them in. But Celtic would progress them to a certain stage. But it's grand having Darren O'Dea as a pathway manager to help. But there's a big, huge gap between the Lowland League stepping up to the first team. You know, and that's the problem. Like what Celtic need to do, Mark, is when all young players get to a certain age, they need to be loaned out to a club for a year or two, not just for 1 year, maybe a year or two, Mark, and then let them play in the league, in Scottish League 1 or League 2 down in King, you know?
It's got to be Scottish clubs for me.
Definitely,
even English Championship. You see all these foreign partnerships and stuff like that. That's all right if they've got a star player that we can steal off them with a kind of.
That's the stumbling
I'm no one our young players get away out of the middle of nowhere and playing. I'd rather they're playing against Scottish teams, getting to know how to play against the teams that when they're playing for Celtic, they're playing against the same teams every week.
Yeah.
I think as well, Paul, you made up a very good point a while ago. I think one of the things I'd like to see that Tisdale guy push and go straight to Celtic and go, whoever it is, whatever the other clubs' connections are to get through, is go, we need a reserve league back.
But
we need the reserve league back.
I heard this actually back Denmark when it was scrapped. It was costing clubs an extra 500,000 to do the reserve league, and the problem was back then that they weren't getting fans in to watch these reserve leagues. Do you get me?
Aye.
So they weren't getting no return. But I think times have changed, Mark. You know what I mean? Like you see now the crowds going to the women's games. They're big crowds, Mark, going to the women's games. You could have young lads there, Mark, young kids, like a family there who actually can't afford.
Go to a full team.
But Mark, that's up. But it's up to the clubs. You know what I mean? Like I'm only a fucking normal Joe Soap here, like, and I can see the beneficial of a club going family day, 2 kids, two adults, certain amount, free drink for the kids, get them in, get the crowds into these matches. If I was I remember, Mark, when I was, I say I was about 14, Celtic came over to, it was actually Liam Brady's first pre-season. They came over to play Cork City. And there was like some Packy Bonner there, the thing, Mark. But there was players there, Mark, who I didn't even know. There was young players. I was delighted to see Celtic play against Cork City. Do you get me? You know, if you're a young lad there, Mark, and you see young fellas, you know what I mean? I think we're missing a massive, and it's not just for Celtic, Mark. You can see now with Scotland, right? Cal McGregor now is retiring. The next player to retire is going to be Andy Robson. Then it's going to be John McGinn. Where's the players coming up? You know, it's going to be Scotland's golden era, and it's going to be another couple of years till Scotland have players coming up to replace these players because there was no reserve league.
I think as well, Paul, another way, and it's a fair point what you're saying is, but you think the marketing people will be looking at this? Fine, they've got the ladies' league, and it seems to be quite successful. They got good crowds in it. Why not try and have a situation where on those games that it's a dual game, in the sense that there's the reserve game is on first, or the ladies' game is on first, and the reserve game is on second. And like you said, have a ticket that incorporates the 2 matches, a family packet, and they're all, like if Celtic women are away to Hamilton Academicals, say, and Hamilton have they get in a men's reserve league, whatever. Then they play Hamilton. And the same when they're playing, if it's Rangers, and the same when they're playing Hibs or whoever it may be. And try and incorporate it as a ticket. And go, well, you can go to these 2 games. It's a family day out. It's not costing an arm and a leg. And not only that, but you get a player if he's injured, a first-team player, they can come back and get important minutes into their legs. And I said this on here more than once.
Aye.
Imagine you're a young player, and suppose it's Carter Vickers. Imagine you're a young centre-back now, and you're trying to make your way in it. And Carter Vickers is back, and he's going to play maybe 2 games in reserves to get his fitness back up.
Exactly.
How much would a young player, learn being beside Carter Vickers? It would be, or even a young player if Adam Ida was injured and he was coming back, and you're a young centre back playing for, say, Aberdeen against him. How much are you going to learn against a seasoned international like that, or a guy like a Carter Vickers? That's invaluable. With the greatest respect, they're playing against lads who are working 5-6 days a week and going training maybe twice a week in the Lowland League. And I'm not trying to be disparaging or disrespectful to any of those guys, because they're all working guys and they're playing their football at the weekends. But for the young Celtic lad, you can't expect him to play a Lowland League game in the Highlands, wherever it may be. And then if he's called up to the second team, or called up to the Celtic first team, even if for an SPL match against Motherwell or Dundee, the likelihood of him performing is so small, because it's a huge step up, let alone anything bigger than that.
I saw
Just
I
wait
saw
hold
it
on
in
the
the
new
Sligo
Paul.
match, Mark. When I was watching the Sligo match, Mark, I saw it.
Terms.
Yes.
It's the Lowland League. It's not in the Highlands. It's a total complete opposite.
Well, I don't know. I'm just using an example. Whatever.
But just that's quite funny. Just as a
But
kind
Mark,
of
I saw
Scottish
it, Mark. I saw it, Mark, in the Sligo match. You could see the young players had a talent, but you could see clearly that they weren't ready for the first team.
And see what Terence is saying there as well about our young centre backs learning for maybe playing just what I mean. They're even for if there had been a reserve game.
Exactly,
Thursday
Mark.
night,
Carter Vickers
could have played that.
Should have had 2 bunks games back, 2 or 3 bunks games before he came.
Do you know what
back
I mean? But no, even our player learning for playing against playing alongside Carter Vickers, he's learning maybe against maybe say Kevin Nisbet at Aberdeen missed a game or just wants an extra game to get up to speed before the cup game. So our young centre back could end up be playing alongside Carter Vickers and against Kevin Nisbet. Do you know what I mean? Which he's learning for the both kind of ways. I've said it for years. There's a ceiling in Scottish football. We produce all these young players, and see when they get to 19 and 20, that's where something's wrong. Something's deadly wrong. And it's not just because of this Lowland League king. It's been on for years.
Yeah,
the Lowland League in the Highlands.
There's only a very, very small percentage kick on.
But Mark,
and that's what needs to be addressed.
We're going on about the Celtic board being freaking out of touch and stuff like that they don't know what to do with their money and they don't know how to handle this big budget. And
it's the SFA, the Scottish SPL, or whatever they call it. They haven't a clue what's going on.
Did I hear a thing there before, Mark? You might actually know more about this. That when Brian McClare came in, he had all these new ideas to change the way the Scottish FA did stuff and thing, and they didn't like his fucking ideas, and they boosted him out. They forced him out.
That's probably true, Paul. They've done that for donkey's years. The amount of guys that they've brought in, fancy foreign names and everything, and just they come up and have these crazy plans. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But see, after 2 or 3 years, they'll fall apart and get forgot about, and we just end up going to shit again.
Yeah. Speaking of Aberdeen, tomorrow, do you think it's going to be another tough game, or are we going to see Celtic again, Mark, like we saw them last time? A game with 2 fucking halves?
I hope no. Hope I've learned a lesson for that.
Because that seems to be the norm for Celtic, don't it? This season, don't it?
Aye, Paul, I've been saying that. I've been saying that all season. It's like a game of 2 halves.
But why is that, Mark? Is it down to, because it's obviously not down to Rodgers, because you see Rodgers coming out and he's fucking slating them.
I mean, the Aberdeen game, I mean, I've said that Celtic should never, ever, ever get in at half time 2-0 up against another Scottish team and no win that game.
Uh-huh.
But
There was arrogance there, though.
Was I tell so maybe was. I mean, the majority of other Scottish managers for coming out for that second half would set their team up and say, right, try not to lose any more goals.
Because it was 2-1-4. Like Celtic tried to walk the ball in at one stage.
But the Aberdeen manager, that feeling he went totally opposite direction. And for me, he kind of
fair play to him.
It gave Brendan Rodgers a wee bit of kind of wee tap in the jaw, if you know what I mean, tactically, where the kind of game and I hope that's maybe get Rodgers his back up and he says, right, this will not be happening for us the most, like in this cup game.
I think Mark he gave the players one as well, because like, let's be fair about it, it wasn't like, okay, it goes in off Duke's arm for the third goal, but if that hits any other part of his body bar his arm, it's 3-2 like. And Celtic aren't coming back from it, because they were absolutely on the ropes. Celtic were for no reason whatsoever. Sorry if you can hear the dog in the background there, boys. He's having a meltdown here.
I thought it was maybe Paul's wee dog Yogi.
No, it's Marshall. He's having going around the back here like a lunatic.
Jeez. Stick your finger up his hole there. He won't be long down quiet.
Blown a half time.
What is it with you and backsides tonight, Paul?
I don't know.
You know what they say when the cat's away.
I was just going to say, he's up to tonight.
I mean,
I'd say you have a jar of Vaseline ready for yourself. Go on.
Every time he comes on into it,
it's filth. It's just pure filth when he comes on, like.
Fuck's sake, I'd probably, no, my luck, I'll end up fucking putting something again when I go up to the hospital again, so I'm better off just sitting down here doing nothing, but I just watch telly, wrap myself up in cotton wool at this stage, boy, that's what I am. You know? Are
you going to go here, lads, and take this little munchkin for a walk, or he's going to back the neighbours out?
He's definitely not happy there.
No, he's not. He's like,
right, thanks for coming on here, right, good night.
No worries, and I'm going to say 3-1 for the Celtic against Aberdeen, just before you go.
I hope so. Mark, I think we need to talk about, before we go, the opposite side of Glasgow. What's happening over there at the moment, and
I just go. So I leave you boys delighted.
Right, good night.
Good luck.
I think Rangers players need to start on their toes. County Clement.
I know. He's absolutely
ridiculous, man. Ridiculous, man.
It's just even his press conferences, his interviews. It's just word. It doesn't even make any sense. I was listening to what he done the other week. He was blabbering on about stuff, and then there was next thing he was talking about Harry Potter, right in the middle of something in Harry Potter, and he's loopier than that Pedro Casina ever was.
Oh, this fella's worse, Mark.
Definitely. Absolute lunatic.
You know, really is. And I think if they lose against Motherwell, it's going to crumble over there. Well, it is crumbling, Mark. 9 points behind Aberdeen. But the thing that's pissing me off, Mark, and since Thursday, when the reports came out, 17.5 million in debt. Is it in debt?
No, that's what they lost.
That's what they lost. Sorry,
that was their losses. I think their directors 19 million.
There's nothing from the Scottish FA knocking at their door saying, "Hey, what the fuck's going on here?" When we see here, right, Aberdeen, Mark, who for me, hopefully finally have got their books in order, and they seem to be buying decent players.
Certainly seem to have a decent manager anyway.
Yeah,
you know
that's what I'm saying, Mark.
Really
like they've used the money they sold on what's his name, Mark? They sold the striker that we were after,
Mirovski.
They've spent that money, Mark, and they spent it wisely. But who's to say no, like that Rangers will end up selling fucking shares again, and they have to buy players in January? When, for me, Mark, there should be a transfer embargo put in Rangers. You know, lads, you can't sign players. You know, it's blatant cheating, Mark, in front of your eyes that a team operating at 17.5 million loss
Paul, that's the
still
thing
able
about
to
it.
continue.
They've lost money every year, every single year. Crazy money, right? And
Yeah,
the thing about it is, see, it's clubs like, it's not up to Celtic to take this and fight this and stuff like that. It's up to teams like Aberdeen, Dundee United to take this on and fight it, because
yeah,
they're
definitely.
living within their means. Right,
Yeah.
they've got a wee bit of debt. Maybe some of them's pushing their limits with Hearts, Hibs, whatever the new kind. But they're no other team spending the money that they're spending that they've not actually got. Right, and the problem with that is that we're one of the few leagues that don't have any kind of fair play, financial
Well,
fair
even
play, or
Mark,
financial
even like
sustainability regs. And that,
even
but Paul,
even a person, Mark, who
see us not having any kind of rules and regulations, that only helps one club.
yeah,
And you've got
exactly.
to question why we don't have it.
Well, how much of a
England's
shambles
get England's get their own version of financial fair play and the sustainability regs and stuff like that. There they've just brought in an independent football regulator. The SFA or the SPFL went to Scottish Government and said, we don't need an independent SPFL adjudicator, whatever you want to call it. And see, having this independence and these kind of financial regulations and watches on clubs, it only benefits one club in Scotland.
Definitely.
It really does, and that's what needs to
And
be
how
looked at.
bad does it look, Mark, on the Scottish League from the outside if these are the only games that you watch, Celtic and Rangers, and you see then like the blatant cheating that's going on behind the scenes at Rangers, like, it's just fucking ridiculous, man. Really is, really is. And I think it's only a matter of time. Christ, if they don't finish second this season, Mark, and I really do hope Aberdeen, like, I'm not worried about Aberdeen catching us, Mark. I know they're 11 points and stuff like that, but
just
not worried about. But I really do hope for Aberdeen and Scottish football that they finish second. I really, really do. It'd be absolutely brilliant for the league, Mark.
And the thing about it as well, Paul, is the reality for Rangers now is, I mean, the accounts again were shocking, right? You can say, it's down to this low share player trading, right? They've not got any players they could sell to make up.
Exactly.
And their squad's that poor, they can't afford to.
Mark, they had a chance there, Mark, and they had a chance there at that time. It was more important to them to stop the 10 rather than sell Morales and sell Kent when they could have made
everything at that
money on them.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, I know it's after hitting them. You know what I mean? The face painter must be shitting himself again, like saying, "Fuck's sake, I'm not getting paid again."
But Paul, see the thing about it. See the accounts that we just saw. They're only up to the end of June. So see all this building debacle and all the carry on and stuff like that, right? That will not be in the accounts to next year. The accounts next year.
Did you see the state of
it? They need to cut. See, they need to cut so much money that really, for any kind of reality, for them even try to get back in an even keel financial wise, is basically we're not even talking Aberdeen kind of levels of spending, Paul. We're talking your kind of Kilmarnocks and teams like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the reality. They've got to sink in with the way that UEFA run things. They're checking everything every quarter. You can't have any outstanding debts to taxes or anything. So see the way they're juggling Rob and Peter to pay Paul.
Mark, it's a worrying sign, Mark, when you see all your directors and all your board members jumping ship before the reports came out.
Paul, we're 3 months into the season and they need a £4 million loan just now.
Jesus, man.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just going to strip away.
I thought the best thing I saw there when you were going about the new stadium, there was a section of it and the seats were down and they were opposite the other stadium and you couldn't see the pitch. All you were looking at was the opposite side of the other stadium. I was looking going, poor bastard, that seat's like, fucking hell, like, Jesus,
but I mean that's their reality. They're still cutting costs. They still need to cut more costs.
And another worrying thing too for Mark is that crowd cash draw.
Well, their contract with him's up at the end of the season anyway.
Yeah,
Paul.
but they're in financial trouble as well.
Aye. But I mean, it's. I was talking. I was on the phone. I was on the phone to JFP for an hour or that yesterday afternoon, and we were talking about it. And it's like we used to kind of see in 2012 when they were getting into liquidation and that. We're like, oh, we just don't want them back, and this kind of thing. And it's like, is this no better? The actual pain. I mean, there's nothing that. The only people that can break Celtic's absolute stranglehold on Scottish football now is Celtic, if we absolutely make a complete James Hunt it. And I just can't see that happening. I don't.
Like,
I mean,
like what you're saying there, Mark. Like, for all the stick Peter Lowell got, you have to give him credit.
Oh, I've said that. I say that a lot,
yeah,
Paul.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not Peter Lowell fan, but I like to be fair when I'm talking about people.
Yeah.
Right. If Peter Lowell had kept away from that, making any kind of football decisions, Paul, he'd be lauded as much as Fergus McCann is, because you can't fault the money that he's helped make the club, the deals he's got, and the continuing deals and stuff like that.
What did he do that time, Mark? Was it Edward and Oyer? They were in the last 6 months of their contracts. I mean, we got nearly 8 million for Oyer that time, didn't we? And 12 million, I think, for Edward. Was it that time?
It was just. It was just. I mean, you made a few mistakes and stuff like that, and should have kind of tried to modernise the club a few times. But just basically, when it comes to the kind of money side of things, you can't fault Peter Lowell.
No, definitely.
And see if you want to, and I keep saying that to people in the forum. If you want to blame him for all the bad stuff, you've got to give him the credit for all the good stuff. If everything was down to Peter Lowell, all the good stuff's up to him as well as the bad stuff.
You know, like he minds you of what's his name, Daniel Levy, is it the fella for Spurs? Is it that Daniel Levy?
Aye.
You know, I mean, two shrewd operators, Mark. You know, they really, really are. Like, you know.
And again, as well, I keep when we talk about Peter Lowell, you've got to think. I mean, he's well respected with like top men in football. And
even in Europe, Mark.
That's what I was going to say. UEFA. You own that Europe, the ECA board and stuff like that. And even Rangers should be grateful for Peter Lowell being on that board, because we could have ended up being right in the backwater of the European situation if it wasn't for having Peter Lowell, because he is one of the guys. Anytime there's any talk
pushed for this league, Mark, didn't he? He pushed for this league, didn't he?
Aye. Anytime there's any kind of talk about reformation of the Champions League and that, he makes sure that the Scottish League and the weird leagues are all represented and going to have a fair crack at getting into it. So, I mean, it is.
Do you think, Mark? I don't know. Like, I'm not over there. Like, I'm only kind of reading what's like seeing the news and what's posted on Twitter. Like, are they on the verge of going bust?
No, I don't think it'll go bust. I don't. No, as long as the directors are willing to put loans and stuff like that, and they'll not go bust. But it's going to. This isn't even the bottom for them. It's going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because as I said, they just need to keep cutting costs.
Jesus, man.
I mean, I'm sure they need to cut. They've cut £2.5 million off their wage bill, but need to cut another $6 million off it and stuff. And like
I heard another thing there, Mark, as well, and that they're still paying off. Who was the manager before Van Bronckhorst? For them,
that no Pedro.
They're still paying him off. They're still paying Van Bronckhorst, and they're still playing Beale off.
Paul, stuff like that can be quite normal. Honestly,
I know that, but quite normal. Like, that seems to be. When I heard it, like I was going, Jesus Christ, like, you know what I mean? Fucking hell.
I mean, it's like I've seen somebody talking about. I can't even mind the player that was they were talking about. But they're meant to be paying a certain percentage of his wages while he's at another club. That's quite normal as well. Honestly, when you're just loaning players out and stuff. Celtic maybe even do that. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't it surprise me if dear Yoda starting you up. If Celtic players that are out on loan, Celtic are paying a kind of percentage of their wages. Mm-hmm. Even do you think Big Boss and Law was doing in England? Do you know, I think Celtic was paying a bit?
Oh, I know that, yeah.
Do you know what? It's not a big deal, but people just look for
once they're gone, like, and stuff like that. Like, but it just shows, Mark, that they have no money to pay them off up front, like these
No,
managers.
aye.
You know, that's the point I was kind of making. Like, you know, that they don't, like, gee, like, going back to what you said there, like, there's actually no assets for them to fucking sell.
No.
Do you know, there's not, like, you know.
We have, see the thing about it, Paul. It's the right. There's the big. It's just the big lie, the big continuation lie. Do you know what I mean? Right. See when they start in the bottom division. See if they had any common sense or any sense of decency, right? Start down there. Go up into like the top league in Scotland in the first division. Sign all the best youngsters you can find that will sign for you. And a few wee kind of maybe what you would call star players to lead that young group and bring them on. Invest in your
They're
youth.
problematic. They're problematic.
Season, and you grow it. See by the time they get into the top league, Paul, they're probably players worth millions, but they're still with millions in the bank because they didn't need to spend all that crazy money.
Mark. And that was their problem.
Kidding on. That's what they were doing.
When they went down to the league, Mark, they still thought they were still the big club. And that's the problem.
And that's all it was, Paul. It was just ought to kid on that they were still Rangers.
Yeah,
see when we overtake a trophy haul, it's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. All that money, £124 million down the Swanee in 12 years, and they've had one league and 2 cups, and we're going to overtake our trophy haul, and all that, every single penny of that, the last 12 years, all they're arguing, everything is just going to be proven totally, completely meaningless. They'll have nothing left.
Fuckers, Mark, we still claim that they won another league that they didn't fucking win.
I've seen another clue, so I could start putting in the like winning the lower league titles and stuff like that.
Those kind of trophies up there, isn't it? You know, like
absolute laugh, man.
The Glasgow Cups and stuff like that, Mark. They'll start bringing in them and stuff like that. Remember them years ago, the Glasgow Cups? Remember them?
Aye. But I mean, that's just got to be the reality. Every single year, because we've got so many more season tickets, but that's us getting a financial advantage over them every year.
Bad sign, Mark, when Chris Boyd is fucking slating the club. Like, it is a bad sign when Chris Boyd was. He was always kind of back in the club, like, but even he's fed up with fucking Clermont.
But at least he's been a bit realistic. What about that? I can't even mind his name. The guy on Twitter, is it Maguire? Kevin Maguire, kind of puts himself across a bit of a financial expert and that. And he's that's all right. That's sustainable and stuff like that. If you're running a company, any company doing anything, do you know what I mean? If you're running a company and you're losing millions of pounds every year, just because somebody's willing to cover the millions of pounds doesn't mean it's a sustainable business.
No, it's not, Mark. No, you know, especially now as well, Mark, when there could be a time, Mark, and there could be a time, Mark, if they do qualify for the Europa League and stuff like that, they mightn't be left in. You know, because of the way they're run.
Aye.
You know, because
even at that, Paul, we've not to. The other day I read it. So far, we're guaranteed something like £33 million off of UEFA.
Jesus, man.
Just the new. No matter whether we lose every other game or whatever, we're due that, right? And that's not including like our gate money and like the match day tickets and stuff like that, sales. And they're due the new, I think it's about 4.3 million. We're nearly 30. There's £30 million of a gap. This new Adidas deal that we're about to announce as well, that's going to take us to
the elite team. I think.
But saying that, Paul, see this kind of thing, we're getting boosted up to being an elite team with Adidas. Celtic should always been up on that level because we've always sold plenty of shirts across the world. The best thing
about that, Mark, and I can't wait to see it, is we kind of have the retro
Adidas, the wee trefoil badge in that. Aye.
Yeah, and
but it was meant to be. It was meant to be that they were well down the line with signing with Puma, and Adidas came back in with a bit more money and offered us this elite level deal and that to get across it.
Christ, look, but Mark, you look at it there. Like you look at Adidas' sales. Like Celtic is one of his best-selling
Aye.
products. Do you know what I mean? Like,
But I mean, again, Paul, you don't know what Puma offered.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it could be, let's face it, it's down to money.
I would
Right?
like
I'm not a big fan of the Puma brand or even the kind of Fitbit taps. So I think it's maybe a young guys kind of when it comes to Fitbit taps. But when I was younger, the trainers were a bit shite. The
we'd be
trainers
all
weren't.
fucking chavs with our fucking Puma runners then, and Puma tops and a Bovril hats be coming back out. That's what they were.
But we were meant to be well down the road with a deal with Puma, and then Adidas came back in and offered us more money and offered us this elite level.
Time,
but
Mark, you know what I mean? So, like you said there, Mark, we should have been an elite team anyway. With any sponsor we go with, Mark, because not because of Scotland, Mark, but it's the fan and the worldwide fans that Celtic have. And I think, Mark, we should actually be doing way more because of the Irish people that live in America. Celtic should be doing way more advertising and merchandising and stuff like that in those markets.
100%. 100%, Paul, but it's like, see, like the Celtic conventions in America, and I don't know, maybe it's changed now, right? But I can remember a couple of years back, there was big kick-ups about there being a lack of merchandise on sale at them and that. But it turns out that it was a tax that Celtic would have to pay to import their stuff into America. For these kind of big conventions in Las Vegas and that they do every summer. And it was all to do with something to do with tax that Celtic couldn't get the stuff there. But I'd be like, well, surely it might even have been New Balance. It might even have been New Balance at the time, Paul. It might have been that long ago. And I was like, but surely they would be like, well, we'll pay that tax and get as much in there to get it sold.
But you'd get it back, Mark. Then what you put in there, do you get me?
Especially the sponsor. I mean, the actual the kit manufacturer covering the tax to get their merchandise on sale and get out there. Exactly. It was a weird gin. Exactly. I mean, see what you're saying there, Paul, about the amount of like Celtic fans across the world. That even we can go back to. I mean, we go back to a few times when we talk about even them across the road. That Hugh Adams. Do you know what I mean? Him first kind of broke the story about Murray and nobody paid much attention. The guy that started the Rangers pools that renovated Ibrox, etc. and that. And he came out and they said, Rangers are a West of Scotland club. He says, we put out a thing with supporters, asking them to like name supporters about the world that they knew and stuff like that. And says, and there was like 90% of the people that we get in touch with didn't know they'd been put forward for this and no connection to Rangers. He says, where the Celtics get a worldwide fan base anywhere, and no matter which sport, it was basically saying you can be Earn Island and support Man United, but Celtic's your second team. You can be in Boston, supporting some Boston baseball team, but Celtic is still your Fitbit team. And do you know what I mean? It was just that Irish connection across the world, and Rangers haven't got that.
No, they don't, Mark. They really don't. They really don't.
And that's coming from one of the directors. Do you know what I mean? He sold his shares up and bolted when he saw what was under the bonnet with Murray. And that's what he said. He knew that it was unsustainable what they were doing.
Jesus, man. No.
And I really don't think it'll end up in administration of that again. But they'll need, for a simple reason, Paul, how would that affect them for Europe next season? I'd maybe need to look into that. But that 3-year ban for unhangweed accounts or something again.
That ginger one that plays with the women's team will end up playing them next season, saying that she's a man. She'll end up playing in the first team next season, I guarantee you.
John Brown.
You know, before we go, there was trick-or-treaters last night knocking at the door, you know? And I answered this, and I took out...
hear this. Do we want to hear this? Is this safe for work?
No. Just young kids knocking at the door. And I took out a box of Quality Streets, and I said, here, lads, take what you want. And Next day was a fat little fucker. Said, I don't like them. Have you got anything else in the house? You know, he said to me. And I turned to him, go in, fuck off, you ungrateful bastards. And I took the sweets back off and I closed the door. He asked me if I have anything else in the house. I don't like those sweets. Have you anything else in the house,
You should have given me a tin of peas. Something pure absolutely
Jesus
stupid.
Christ, I tell you, I should have given him Slim Fast, the fucker. He should have fucking done it. You know? Jesus Christ, man. I never heard of it. Like, you know what I mean? Christ, when I was going trick-or-treat, there you get an apple and stuff like that. Want this?
Monkey nuts.
Monkey nuts.
I was at mass last night and the priest started on and he was talking about that. He says, when we were younger, he says you went out, you got a handful of monkey nuts and an apple. And you were delighted. And imagine turning on and being a handful of monkey nuts.
Imagine that. No, yeah, imagine you said that to a child now, they'll fucking bring you up, by Jesus Christ.
Drop bags bought hundreds of sweeties and sat there and put them on the wee bags and all that. And nobody came to the door. I think she was a bit gutted.
But they don't, Mark. I think it was the same here. They could have knocked, but I just couldn't be bothered my ass getting up. I was watching something on the telly.
But they know you're a crabbit. They know that you're a crabbit bastard.
Don't knock at that door, Tony.
Victor Meldrew. That's where Victor Meldrew stays.
He's a nutcase there. He chased us last year. Don't go into that house at all.
I never even thought of that, Patrick. Not allergies. You're not allowed to these days, apparently.
Right. Well, maybe he wasn't taxed on. He was just allergic to the nuts.
Maybe somebody gave him a monkey nut. He just bloomed up like Wolowitz shooting the Big Bang Theory.
Fuck, I never thought of that, actually, man. Never thought of that.
That's maybe, is that true?
Did you actually know?
That wouldn't surprise me. That
I only found out this the other day, Mark, and I never knew it. And maybe the lads on the chat will say it as well. Do you know if you're taking a penalty? Do you know the goalkeeper by law now is actually not left to kick the posts before the penalty is taken?
How?
Do you know when you see the keepers there before the penalty, they might kick the post with their studs or something like that and hit the crossbar with their hands, trying to put off the player and stuff like that for the penalty. You're actually not left to do that anymore.
How no?
I found that out from one of my friends who's involved in Cork City. He actually said that to me, that you're actually not left to do that anymore. But some referees just don't bother implementing this. The thing.
But how no?
I don't know. I think it was all down to what's his name? The fella Martinez that time with the World Cup. It was all down to that they kind of wiped it out after that, like that you're not kind of put off the player and stuff like that.
There are hundreds of weird rule changes or penalties, isn't there?
Yeah, man, I never knew it.
I mean, even that like running it, no infringing it.
It's supposedly imitating the striker, Mark. Yeah, imitating the striker.
But how you going to infringe on a penalty? Do you know? I mean, how you going to infringe? Just a lot of stupid rules in football again.
I remember going back, Mark. I think it was about, and I don't know if Liam is still on the chat there. He'd probably know. It was an under 18s match for Ireland. And it was in the playoff stages, Mark, to get into the European Championships. And our keeper was already in the booking for time wasting, all right? Okay? And it was the first time I ever saw it. He came off his line twice during the penalty shootouts, all right? Okay? And
I'm sure you sent me a video of this, Paul, when it happened.
Yeah, remember that? And the referee sent him off. He gave him the second yellow and sent him off. Remember that? Jesus. And it was the first time it actually ever happened in football that a keeper was actually sent off during a fucking penalty shootout. Never saw it before, you know. Suppose it probably depends on the referee you get, Mark, you know.
But see, that's a lot of it. See, sometimes it's like, it's kind of chalk that down to the referee's interpretation here. But then the other times it's all right, well, VAR's right on top of this kind of thing.
There's actually a new fella brought in, I forget his name. There was a new English referee actually being appointed head of VAR up in Scotland this week.
Was there? I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get us wrong. See that thing that Willie Collins doing with the kind of, is it? I don't even. Is it Ref Watch or whatever?
Yeah, on the podcast thing or something.
Aye. I mean, it's gone in the right direction. At least there's a bit more clarity than we're kind of used to. But I'd still, again, we get back to what we were saying earlier on, Paul, about the kind of financial rules and all that. The stuff about the referees, Paul, it only aids one club. Why?
Yeah.
Why is there like no a check on like if a referee's got a tie at a club? Did you ever support them? Did you or your family ever have season tickets to go and watch them? What's your postcode if you're local to a club? What's wrong with, again? When I was talking to JFP yesterday, I said that to him. I said we're not looking for, all right, get a Catholic and charge your games against Rangers. But I don't care if it's a Catholic or if it's a Protestant, if it's a Celtic supporter, Rangers supporter, Hibs supporter, whatever. You just want somebody that's fair. Just somebody that's fair.
Actually, do you know that podcast there, Stick to Football with Gary Lineker, Gary Neville and Roy Keane, all them. They had Howard Rebb on it there last week, and they asked Roy Keane, actually asked him about that, about do the referees actually have to declare themselves, and he goes, yeah, even down to lower leagues, Mark, down to League 3 and League 4.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he said when he started off, he said he followed Rotherham all his life and he has a season ticket. But when he was starting off as a young lad, he wasn't left referee a Rotherham game, even down to lower leagues, Mark. You know
I mean, it's like, Paul, if I was a referee and Celtic supporter, used to have a season ticket, blah, blah, blah. Right, I'm not getting a Celtic game. But then, an Aki's game, he's not got I'm obviously kind of biased towards Aki's if they're playing Motherwell. Do you know what I mean? If they're playing Motherwell, or like, do you know what I mean? They'd be like, all right, well, he's not getting any ties to them. But you have, because I've stayed in Hamilton all my life.
I watched the end of the last game, Aberdeen game there. You watched the last thing, Mark, when they finished just to fucking get the score. I normally wouldn't watch the Huns, like, but I said I just watched the end of the game. And Beeson gave away a foul, right? And you could clearly see it wasn't a foul. And Shinnie came up to him asking, right? And you could clearly see Beeson telling Shinnie to fuck off. You could clearly see it, like, Beeson telling Shinnie to fuck off.
Fuck.
You know? Fuck off. It was a foul.
I'd see that, but that kind of thing doesn't bother me really, Paul. Do you know what I mean? It's like, would Roy Keane take offence at a referee telling him to fuck off?
Yeah, but Mark, respect goes both ways then, don't you?
But that's the thing about it. It's like, and plus I know, Paul, I mean, even Celtic players will have a bit of a kind of rapport with referees. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I see even telling Cal McGregor, fuck off, as if I'd fuck off, Cal, don't be so stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I wouldn't get too upset about stuff like that. But I mean, it's definitely, it's something that just needs to be looked at in Scotland. Nobody else puts up with this kind of stuff.
Ian, what's his name there, Mark? Ian is Ian, what's his name? McIntosh, is it?
McIntosh.
Pat, sometimes better keepers seem to have a screw loose. Well, that explains a lot for me. So
I've spoken about that in Paul and his mental health maniacal moods before. Paul was a goalkeeper. That's kind of how he comes out with all these weird things at times. But I know, obviously, I mean, that's a kind of cliche in football, isn't it?
It is, Mark. Jesus Christ.
Aye.
You would have thought I had Tourette syndrome when I played in goal by about the things that came out of me, you know? Like, Jesus Christ, man. I chased the referee and everything. That's what I did, Mark. I chased the referee and everything one day, man. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Looking back at it now, like, I don't know how I played football, you know?
But
I mean, were different times, Mark.
But when you think about it, I mean, really, every goalkeeper's either kind of quiet death stare guy that's just going to ninja kick you when you're not looking at him, or he's just pure balling in your face, a scheming maniac over the years. All the best keepers. I totally agree with that. And see, for them to throw their bodies about and stuff the way they do, I definitely think there's a kind of...
One of my favourite keepers, Mark, and he'll always be highly regarded as me. Like I was obviously Packy Bonner, but going the last decade and stuff like that was Buffon.
Aye.
Buffon was just what a goalkeeper he was. Like Buffon and the Italians always had good goalkeepers.
Aye.
Going back to
I can mind the Dino's off playing.
Dino's off.
I can mind the
Remember
Dino's off.
Italian 90, Mark? Remember Walter Zenga? And he was
I can mind them playing in the 82 World Cup, Paul. Dino's off when they won it in 82.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm not a fan of this fella, Donnarumma. You know, Bruce Grobbler. He was another
modern
head case, wasn't he?
keeper. Bruce Grobbler was a bit of a maniac. But I don't. It's just. I suppose you've got to. I mean, see the thing about it as well. What did they stand there, Paul, and think about? Do you get what I mean? It's not as if they're on full alert like your central midfielder all game, would they? I mean, they sit there and they must be freezing just standing there.
I was like that fellow with the mean machine, Mark. I pictured myself fucking thumping someone on the pitch. That's what it was. That's what was going through my head. When the corner was coming in, like, who am I going to deck here? Like, you know what I mean? Paul, I'm not even fucking 5'6", Mark. You know me, I'm tiny, like, and I was going, who am I going to deck here? Like, you know, that's.
Sitting playing Snake on your old Nokia.
Exactly. I remember.
I think because even down to that kind of level, do you get what I mean, Paul? That kind of psychology and sports stuff, and just to be a goalkeeper and stand there and have nothing to do for 75 minutes, all of a sudden, boom, every pressure's on you.
You just made me a point there. The game against Dundee, I think it was the first minute. That's saved by Kasper Schmeichel. You know, we're on about players maybe 10, 15 minutes, Mark, to get into a game, like to get their legs warmed up. And that save by Kasper Schmeichel was going down to that bottom corner, and how fast he got down for that stake. That could have changed the game totally, Mark, straight away in the first minute there, like, you know.
I mean, you've got to kind of respect goalkeepers for having that kind of mindset and being able to, just keep their. It's just,
especially, Mark, it's gone down the Premier League, Mark, because you're going to.
Look at it from the point of view, Paul. Look at it for the other night with Kyogo, right? With the miss for Kyogo and the save for Kasper Schmeichel. That's for me, Paul. That's the kind of difference between an elite level player. See, Kyogo's absolutely howler of a miss.
Definitely, Mark. Definitely.
You know what I mean? If he was an elite level player, like a lot of people do say, he'd have scored that. And Kasper Schmeichel, if he was just past it as like some of our opposition people think, that he wouldn't make that save. But that shows you the mindset of what a goalkeeper needs to be like. Yeah. But for the very first minute to the very, very last minute, the goalkeeper needs to be right on his game and focused. And I don't think I could do that.
Oh man, you have to be in it, Mark, straight away. But keeper, like, your concentration has to be there throughout the whole game. Like, like, I actually don't know how to do it, man. I definitely didn't do it. My mind.
Your mind bounces about all over the place, but I mean, and that's only you playing at kind of a half decent level, Paul. Imagine having to do that for a team like Celtic or one of these top teams. That any mistake you're getting, you're no matter what goal Celtic get let in, the keeper's taking some amount of the blame for it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But
I mean, but they were bad misses by Kyogo, Mark. My God,
really poor. They were. They should. And Paul, I say this and that. I mean, people say, you're too hard on him, and look, I'm slagging him off and stuff like that. I'm not meaning to slag him off. I think Kyogo's a brilliant player, but for me, he's just not clinical enough to be.
It's like he needs 2 or 3 chances, man, to get that goal. Do you get me?
Aye. Whereas, I mean, Lee Griffiths, I hated Lee Griffiths as a man. Do you get what I mean?
Put them away.
Through that.
He would have put them away, man.
Definitely. But what a striker he was, the amount of goals he scored for us and stuff like that. Gary Hooper, big
Hooper would have lived though. The chances were creating no Mark.
Aye. Imagine the amount of
Hooper
goals Lee Griffiths or Gary
Hooper and the
Hooper.
Griffiths would have got by. Yeah, exactly. I think he would have started with
Big Jan Venegoor as well. Another. Do
if
you know what I mean?
Ida
Another
didn't
big
pick up
striker.
them, if Ida didn't pick up that injury against Motherwell, I think Ida would have started tomorrow, given the physicality of Aberdeen.
That tackle was ridiculous.
It was horrible. And then for is it what's his name, Mark? Stuart Kidwell, is it? Is that his name? The Motherwell manager? What's his name?
Steve, what? I can't
Steve
even
Kidwell,
mind, Paul. Aye, something like that.
For him to come out and say it wasn't a red card, ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
Aye. If you're expecting that, Paul, if that's your player, you're expecting him to come out and say it was a poor tackle, mistimed. Make that excuse. Just say it was a poor tackle and he mistimed it. But Kettlewell, isn't it? Steve
Kettlewell, yeah, something like that, yeah. But for him to come out and say
some hairdo,
but he was always like that. He's another con, isn't he?
I don't know.
Kettlewell, that's not his name.
It's no Kettlebell, Kettlewell.
Kettlewell, yeah. It was like, fucking hell, Kettlewell. That doesn't spring to mind, I know I can't pronounce fucking names properly, but I definitely know that's not it anyway. Jesus Christ, for me to question you about Adam.
I know. Absolute cheek. That was absolute cheek.
Of all people to question you about pronunciation of players.
You can't even say Engel's name right.
Oh, that was the classic, man. I just had to see. I saw the opportunity, man. I took it by that side. Sorry, man. Right, man. We let it there, boy. We let it there. I'm starving.
Right. Thanks very much for coming on, Paul. It's always good to get you on with your view, your take on things. It's like an episode of Twilight Zone at times, but it's always good to have you on, bud.
I do give some points, all right, but I do believe in humour to the podcast as well,
That's what it is. Do you know what I mean? A bit of a laugh and a joke, talking nonsense.
A bit of filth. Mark gets warning from YouTube and I come on.
I keep getting when I first started doing the podcast, I used to have that instrumentally Sweet 16 as our intro thing before the listening song, right?
Copyright,
right.
Didn't you? Copyright.
Aye, but see, every morning I wake up and I've got a new email that I've struck. But the channel's not even monetized. I don't make any off this.
Jesus
and
Christ.
I keep getting these emails, but it's all going back to episode 62. You cannot monetize this unless you edit it to take this out. You've been copyright striked with such and such. And all that. I don't even care. I wouldn't even know how to. As I say, I don't even get the channel's no monetized. We don't make anything out of it. But just stop sending me these emails, YouTube. I don't care anymore.
YouTube are gone bad, right, with all that stuff now, man, aren't they? They are like. It's like you can't even do dick pics. I mean, it's not offensive.
But it's not. They're not like deleting the podcast. It's just saying, you can't make money out of this. I'm like, well, I'm not making money out of it anyway, so what does it matter? You don't need to tell me this every day. Another video. Because Paul, we must have been out about 100 of them, wouldn't we? Using that.
Nice. Especially during the Manscaped thing, with the things
and then it started and every single morning another email about it.
Jesus Christ, boy, they were classics, all right, though, weren't they, the Manscaped?
Do you know that code still works for that? We'll need to put that up. The discount code for that still works, I think. Even talking about that.
It does actually, don't it? That does, don't it? It does.
Aye, I think it does, aye. But just even at that, before we go, I mean, I don't think there's hardly anybody still listening, but we'll be launching our Christmas food bank appeal this year or the weekend. That's what I think this will be about 11 years now. We've been doing this through the forum and stuff like that. We collect from my local food bank through my chapel, and we're well over 10 grand for we started doing it, which is absolutely fantastic. But we'll get that on running over the weekend as well. And hopefully, if you can afford anything, it's appreciated. If you can't, don't worry about it. There's no hassle. It's just what we do every year. Right, Babs, call that quits, bud.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Right, good night, Paul. Thanks for coming on, right, mate?
Cheers, buddy.
Right. Thanks for everybody. Terence coming on, Paul there. Everybody joined in the chat. Hope you enjoyed it. As I said earlier on, we've not been on much just with guys working and stuff like that, but hopefully we'll get back to doing more podcasts in the next couple of days and weeks going forward. Big Jerry says he'll be about on Sunday night, so we'll be back on Sunday night. Hail, hail, lads. Good night and God bless.